Welcome to the Tier 1 podcast. I am your host, Brent Tucker, owner of FRCC. We do cigars, coffee, and bourbon, and we do it better than anyone else. Don't believe me? Go to frcc.shop and find out for yourself. And use promo code Tier1 to get 15% off your order.
And I'm Drew Tucker, cold brew coffee drinker at First Responder Coffee Company. Guys, consider joining the Patreon. You've got exclusive behind-the-scenes content. There's a fitness forum. There's a gun forum. The Patreon is brought to you by Cobalt Kinetics. And there's a Cobalt Kinetics weapons expert ready to answer all your gun questions in the gun forum, only at the Tier 1 Patreon.
And of course, this episode is brought to you by Human Performance TRT. Go to hp-trt.com and use promo code Tier1 to get 20% all of your testosterone and peptide needs. Let's do it.
For the Special Forces Regiment.
Welcome to the Tier 1 podcast.
This is amazing, dude. Check this out, right?
I got to edit this out because I'm eating creatine gummies.
Well, that's on you.
Or maybe I won't.
Well, yeah.
With us today, we have Jimmy Watson. Someone I would consider on the list of most interesting men in the world. You can blush at that all you want, but Jimmy, you know there's some truth to that moniker.
Can you tell my wife that, please?
It's
Please.
been a crazy life.
Yeah.
And you're about to find more about that. He was a Marine, went to Blackwater, became a Navy SEAL, went all the way up post military to be the CEO of McAfee antivirus, and currently in the social media space. One of my favorite people on Instagram is where I follow you at. I stop and watch you every time you give a take on something because you're hilarious. Anyway, Jimmy Watson, everyone. I got some gifts for you real quick.
Dude.
You look like a man that appreciates creatine, so I'm gonna give you a supply of that. And I tell you, it's not a pitch; it's just the truth. If it wasn't for those gummies, I would not take creatine when I travel. It's the only thing that keeps me taking creatine.
No, you know what? I got some of these before, and they taste freaking phenomenal. And I've actually exactly what you just said. Who's going to carry powder around with them?
Don't do
on
it.
Their trips. And so you bust this out. You take. I think I can OD on these. They're
There you
so
go.
good.
Stay jacked. There you go.
Yep.
This one's from Brotherhood Blades. You got more?
Oh man.
Oh, the gifts.
Really?
Gifts don't start coming. You come on this show, you're gonna get showered.
Dang,
You're gonna get
man.
showered with gifts.
This is great. What about that weapon on your wall there? Come on.
That'll that one is getting given away on
Right.
Patreon.
Right.
Just
on your Patreon.
given away.
Dude.
$10 a month. You might win a gun.
I'm jumping on there after this.
And we're not that big, so the chances of winning is actually pretty good. It's not like Sean Ryan. It's not like a 1 in a million chance.
It's actually brilliant, man. Your Patreon's banging too, man. People
love-
need to go over to pay his Patreon for real.
Love it. It's a great community. But open that up. That one's for you.
Open it up. Man, I
I
never
say it
get
every
gifts
time.
either,
I've
man.
never met a guy that you give a knife to and like, you know what? I got enough knives. Every knife's always cool. Well, Tier 1 podcast knife for you.
Super legit, man. Thank you so much, man.
Last but not least, from Cloud Defensive.
Oh, wow.
I'm a huge advocate of tack lights.
Yes.
If you don't have a tack light on your gun, then you are only capable of defending your house during the day.
Right.
And even during the day, you're not as effective as you could be without a light. So there you go.
I love how you can put this on your weapon, your 90210 side piece, your
That's right.
Carbine and
And
bump
I'm,
it.
I'm also a huge fan of the pressure pad.
Yeah,
Like
pressure
if
pads are key.
If you have to take the time to go hit the button on the back of it and then get back up on the gun, it's too late. Gunfights are won in tenths of a second. You got to have that light on exactly when you want it on and off exactly when you want it off.
Exactly. This is awesome. Thank you, man.
Yeah.
Appreciate you guys.
Absolutely. So let's get into it. Right from the start, you started out as a Marine, correct?
That's right.
How old were you when you joined?
I was literally 16 when I went in the recruiter's office. I was like begging them to get me in. And then they said, look, you got to get your parents to sign you in. And of course, that was no problem for my parents to sign me in at 17 years old.
Yeah.
I was ready to go. I was a man on a mission even when I was a little kid. All I wanted to do was serve my country. I've said that so many times. I can even remember looking up in the sky and as a little bitty kid and just knowing that there was like some higher power that sent me to this earth. And I knew that I was supposed to, or maybe I got it from all the movies back in the day, but I just knew that I was meant to go to war, maybe even die in the process. I had this very possibly delusional concept of what war was and sacrificing my life. But I had this big kind of sacrificial thing going on where I was like, I owe my country. I owe this beautiful life. And I grew up on a farm that was going almost bankrupt.
Yeah.
But it was an old West Texas farm. They called it the Muleshoe Ranch. I loved it out there, Brent. And we would dig holes with my little brother and play Army and stuff. But I knew from the time I was little, I wanted to be like either like a Green Beret or something like that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Can you remember from an early age? I mean, something influenced that. Was it Rambo? Like, was there? What was the influence you believe? If you had to guess, looking back, what was indicative of that?
Yeah, I swear, man. I know this sounds nuts, okay, but you remember the Green Beret song? You know,
Fighting soldiers from the sky. Never heard of it.
100. You don't know anything about that.
They play it at every
Only I do.
graduation phase.
Are you serious?
There's 5 or 6 phases. Every graduation. In the Q course, you hear that song 100 times.
Really?
Yeah, for sure.
Dude, my dad, he was in the Army during Vietnam. He wasn't in Vietnam, but he fixed the helicopters during Vietnam, Cobras. And for some reason, he would sing me this song and rock me as a little kid.
No way.
And he would fighting soldiers. And 100 men will test today. Only three win the Green Beret.
Yeah.
And for me, 100 men are going to test today.
Yeah.
Only three.
Cool.
For me, that was like, I don't know, man. Maybe it was like this brainwashing my dad was doing. I don't know why he did it, but man, I was gung ho to be something like that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
With those kind of odds against me.
Absolutely. Can you sign the paperwork at 16 with your parents, or do you have to wait till?
No, I
17?
had to literally wait till I was 17.
Okay.
I had been out of school. I was telling my girl this the other day. I've been out on my own, out of the house since I was 13 years old. My parents sent me to this crazy Texas Bible Institute or something. And basically it was a bunch of older guys, like 30s and 40s, trying to get their life back together. And here I was, the youngest guy ever accepted. I was always the youngest guy and everything.
Okay.
And they accept my mom somehow. It wasn't no Forrest Gump thing where my mom sleeps with the guy there and lets me in. No, it wasn't like that. But anyways, they let me in and I'm scrubbing toilets every day, but I had this Army mentality.
Yeah.
I get done with this. I'm like maybe 15 after this school institute that I was at. I was a pretty troubled kid. I was wild. I probably would have done better in bigger schools, but since it was like 17 kids in my school, like my sister's graduating class because I never graduated. It was a real small thing, and the focus was on Jimmy because I just questioned everything, and I wasn't disrespectful, but I was just wild.
Yeah.
You know, but I had that lion's heart, but this small frame body, no athleticism. And so that I was really mad at God or the world, the universe, because I just didn't have what I wasn't picking up what the other kids were picking up. And so it was a long road to that recruiter's office just to get in the Marines because I failed the ASVAB by all circumstances. I made like a 16 on the ASVAB. That's almost impossible to do. I mean, literally, it's almost impossible to do.
Spelled your name wrong and everything.
Yeah, I was like, like super special. My mom called me real special. I've always been real special. And, but I got through that and then ended up, I needed a GED. I needed some community college. So I went to like pottery and all these bowling and all this stuff just to get one credit here. Finally, I got like some credits. I got my GED, and I was able to get in the Marines. Nobody else would accept me because of my low scores. Because I didn't have any proper schooling. I had to learn everything later on in life. So I joined at 17. I was the youngest guy in my Marine Corps boot camp. I remember the drill instructors, it was just like Full Metal Jacket or worse. They were slugging dudes, hitting dudes, yelling, screaming. And I thought, oh my God, like I didn't know they were going to be hitting guys. I thought they could just yell at you.
Right.
But I remember the drill instructor, he goes, who's the youngest recruit in here? They had the crazy frog voices. And me being so stupid, I raised my hand like, I raised my hand. He comes over there and slugs me in the stomach, and I fell backwards over my locker we had. And I remember this has got to be illegal, but I loved it deep down inside because I wanted to prove myself as a man,
Right.
Maybe it wasn't going to be the 100 test today in 3, but I wanted to work towards that eventually. I always had that in my mind. So the SEALs or Green Berets, something like that.
When it comes to being the youngest at the Marine Corps, and you're self-aware. I'm gonna say something that doesn't sound great, but you're self-aware. You're not that smart.
Right.
Can I ask you this? Did you feel that you just weren't book smart, but that you were street smart, or did you feel just in general you weren't smart at the time?
I was convinced that it's like I knew that I had something in me that maybe others didn't, but I was so frustrated because it was like I couldn't articulate that. No. And then all my scores proved that I was a dumbass, on the outside. And then of course you have teachers calling me pretty much a dumbass. Some teachers said some really bad stuff. I remember looking at a little report card a couple of years ago that my mom kept. It said, Jimmy is a dreamer. He's distracted, but he's a dreamer. And I was like, you damn right I'm a dreamer. Take it.
I love that answer. I grew up athletic, but small in stature.
Right.
So I had to work harder than anyone else.
Right.
Everyone, I don't care. Well, actually, it's not that everyone does. And I think it's actually bad. Some people early on, school is easy. Some people early on, sports is easy. Some people early on are bigger than everyone else. And I think that is not good for them.
No.
Because more times than not, what happens is those kids that struggled early go on to do great things if they deal with that appropriately. You can either let it crush you, or you can take that as a challenge, and now it's me against the world. And it seems like that's what happened for me, and that's what happened for you as well.
It does, and it also makes you grateful, Brent.
Oh, absolutely. Right.
A lot of my gratefulness comes when I start to think about where I came from. Like I came from nothing, theoretically. It wasn't in a village in starving in Africa, but it was a hard enough background to be all odds against me. Right. Especially later on with my Blackwater trial and the legal troubles. Threading a needle just to get into the SEAL program is hard enough. With all that stuff compiled on you, it just was hopeless. And so when you do walk across that stage of life where you're pinned and you reach your childhood dream at 30 years old like I did, there was nothing else after that. Right. I didn't have aspirations to go to SEAL Team 6 and stuff like that because I just being a SEAL was incredible for me. Not that that's an amazing goal to achieve, but for
sure
me,
is.
It is.
It sure is. Don't you downplay that. It sure is.
It is. And so that was incredible for me to see these things come to fruition.
When do you feel like for you you started to turn that corner? Because like you said, you didn't grow up really athletic. You feel like to some degree, you had some, at least whether it be, we'll just call it like academic problems. Right. But obviously, because where you are now, you turned the corner at some point and early on because you ended up becoming a SEAL. So how was you told us about how boot camp started with just a good punch in the stomach. Was that the beginning of you going, hold on, I am good at this and I got this? Or did that come a little bit later on in your military career?
I think it came later on, but there was these wickets, these little breadcrumbs that were given to me along the way that allowed me to realize that I was in line with some divine destiny, as crazy as that is. But I always say, if you don't believe in destiny, you don't have one, man. So you better start believing one, you know? Yeah. And so for me, graduating boot camp was getting a GED was a big deal for me. Graduating Marine Corps boot camp was a big deal for me. I made my mom and dad proud. Of course, they were already proud, but I would say the big turning point, Brent, was when I actually, I had already done war in the Marines, a couple deployments. 9/11 had happened. First Marines in south of Kandahar, and then Helmand and all that, and then we're spiraling. I'm spiraling down into Blackwater, into Baghdad, Iraq. Part of this new unit called Blackwater. Okay, and then when I landed and I was amongst these other men with all these different backgrounds, right? No Delta guys, they were probably doing something else crazy, But other SEALs, Rangers, other Marines and stuff. I remember calling my mom and said, "Mom, I finally made it." Yeah. And so, and here I am getting paid all this money to do like this dream job and go to war and actually be in significant battles, because in the Marines, it was more long distance, a lot of long range patrols, nothing going on. Yeah. So now I finally made it. And so I think these were big turning points for me. In fact, when I was a team leader in their red cell, it was you had to be asked to come over there at the time to their quick reaction force in Blackwater. It was pretty elite considering contracting. I finally made it over there and was team leader. And I remember walking out on this veranda. You could hear the Muslim prayer, all this stuff in the background, and you could smell the diesel from the tanks and stuff, hear some rockets going off. But I remember hearing that song come on, the Green Beret song. Yeah. And it was on somebody's radio, and it just came on, and man, that brought some tears, man, because, there's guys struggling right now that are listening to this, and women too. And there's a lot of pain. There's a lot of emotion. There's a lot of like feeling like I did for many years, a lost ship in the night. And so when you see that lighthouse in the distance and you get your bearing back on that light, those were those times where like that song comes on, my bearings back. Okay, I'm still okay. I'm going to be all right. It may be a rough road ahead, but it was real hard behind me. I know I'm okay.
Yeah. I think the lighthouse is a good description of that, because a lighthouse does let you know you're on the right path. But anyone who's ever ran to a lighthouse or boated to a lighthouse, you can see it, but it doesn't seem like it's ever getting closer. No, but you're on the right path, and the right path is not fast either, and it can take a long time to reach that lighthouse. But you're on the right path.
Right, because it's like what you're saying. It's like I'm sure you experienced this at the elite of the Army in CAG or Delta Tier 1, was that it's almost like you're never good enough. Right. So there's always something else.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I just saw it today, so it reminds me of a good analogy of never being good enough. And he was talking about weightlifting. He's like, when you get into weightlifting, like no one thinks they're as small as they are than the weightlifter. The weight, like that guy.
Oh my God!
Always goes to the gym like wanting to be bigger and always feels small. Yet he's bigger than everyone else because there's always going to be someone bigger than you, or it's your own standards, and it's so true.
So true.
Guys that go to the gym and get jacked, they're never jacked enough. They're always looking at themselves, going, "That could be better. That could be better." And I'm sure there's a lot of different ways to
I think that's
put that. But
I think that's a blessing too, because my girl says, "Do you have body dysmorphia?" You literally like because I'm never big enough. I'm always like trying to be stronger, bigger, But I've had to learn, like, Jimmy, it's okay to be like just like relax today. You don't have to freaking achieve a medal every single day. Be more consistent, more level.
It's a tightrope, right? Because you have to be your worst critic. Like you have to drive yourself. No one else is going to drive you to success like you. And again, it's just another way of putting it. But I was watching. Everyone's watched Little League baseball, and the kids that want to be there and are self-driven because they love the game, they're going to be in that game for a long time. They're probably going to go far. We've all seen the talented kid who doesn't really want to be there, but their parents are driving him to be better and be better. Well, guess what? At some point, their parents aren't going to be there, and he's going to stop. So you have to drive yourself, and so that's a good thing. But like anything else, even you driving yourself, you can overdrive yourself into nothing being good enough to a point that everything you do disappoints yourself.
Right.
You can't have that.
Right. And I'm sure you've seen this too, but the best SEALs that I ever knew in my life, or the best operators, were always like the sled dogs who had rough lives. They didn't have everything given to them. They weren't like, Mr. I get first place. Those guys are kind of a lot of times those guys are turds because they're either narcissists or whatever. They're not that great guys. They think they are. But in all reality, when things are given to you your whole life, you can't really better yourself. And so that's kind of where I was at.
I always joke about it. And where I go, the perfect selection probably looks something like this. Take the bottom 50% and they're not good enough.
Right.
Wipe them out. And then take like the top 5 or 10% and also deselect them. Because no one wants to work with those
Nobody.
guys. Those guys are a-holes.
Assholes.
And then everyone else, that's who you want to work with. It's kind of a joke, but there's a little bit of truth to it as well.
Well, yeah, I always tell people the statistic in buds that I'll never forget. It's like the top 10% and the bottom 10% in buds are there. It's over. For some reason, they don't make it. I don't know. Maybe 1 or 2 of those top 10% do, but the bottom's always going to fall off. But it's the guys in the middle, not the gray man.
Right. Yeah. Not the gray man.
It's not the gray man. That guy's a turd. That guy's a piece of shit.
That's right.
But it's the guy that's like, he's hard. He's down for whatever, and he's going to be there for his boys. He's always thinking about the team gear, his swim buddy more than himself. And I will say that's probably one talent that I would say that I have, that I don't like to say, oh, I have these talents, but the one thing that I have is I have that team player mentality, like and loyal to a fault, which could get you in a lot of trouble in life,
Yeah. What were you making a day? What was the going rate a day there at Blackwater, Surge, Iraq? $1,000 a day? Were you making that?
Actually, it was $500 a day, but it could be up to $3,000 a day, depending on the holiday season of the need for guys to stay in country and not just bounce.
What was your schedule like? 30 on, 30 off? What was those? What those deployments look like throughout the year?
My first contract was 6 on, 1 off.
Okay.
And then, but I stayed. I just kept staying and extending, I was like, dude, this is too good. So like I always say, sometimes they're paying you too much. Sometimes they're paying you way too much. Party at Saddam Hussein's palace. Yeah. Play on your little Nokia phone, the snake game, and just chill with the girls and drink. Sometimes, they can't pay you $1 million if you can't spend it the next day.
That's right.
Because you're dead.
Isn't that the truth? So what was it about that? Because it seems like a pretty good life. Like you're making good money. You're where you want to be at. Yet you'd have to correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't enough because something made you rejoin and go to the SEALs.
Right. Well, I checked the freaking box in Blackwater for combat. I didn't have to prove myself to, and what I mean by prove myself, proving yourself doesn't necessarily have to be to other people. Proving yourself to me was like, no, do I have what it takes to step in the octagon and go all rounds and become a champion? And for me, that championship looked like, okay, am I a coward or do I really have what it takes in battle to stick it out? And I shined in that area in combat. So that made me feel like I had a superpower over all the smart kids. Okay, I may not be the smartest guy, but I'm going to outshine them in balls and in courage and combat. So I had this big card. And so I was real comfortable in war.
Here at the Tier 1 Podcast, we're excited to have Tasty Gains as a sponsor, a company with values that aligns with ours. I take their products every day, 3 times a day. And if it wasn't a product that I didn't take personally and believe in, and a company with integrity, then they wouldn't be sponsors on this show. Creatine helps the body produce more ATP, which is an energy molecule that your entire body runs on. It helps improve your physical and mental performance in all aspects of life. Let's be honest, creatine powder sucks to take every day. With the creatine gummies, you can take them with you anywhere and they taste great. Every batch is third-party tested, so you know you're getting exactly what you pay for. Go to tastygains.com and enter the promo code TIER1, that's TIER, the number 1, and get 20% off your order.
And then I was dating a girl at the time who really said, Jimmy, you're an intellectual, and she was a real smart girl. And I was like, nah, you got the wrong guy. I'm just a monkey, but she said, no, you need to work on these skills though. So she started teaching me how to write reports and how to write up my own men for medals. And so here I am in charge of a 30-man assault team, not assaulters like assaulters, of course, but assault team is in a quick reaction force in Blackwater, which we called, the QRF or tactical support team, which we were getting down and dirty, man, in the war. But while we were doing that, as we just talked about, it's not enough, right? And you see those little glimpses of hopes. I would see CAG operating in and out. You could see the little blackbirds, and it wasn't SEALs. And because we worked sometimes with the SEALs, with their PSD teams, with can't remember the Bremer detail and the president at the time, but I would see the CAG operators and they're on the skids going in and out, and I was like, okay, there's this is badass. Right. Yeah. This is enough you could die and say, okay, I did some cool shit. But then there's that. Yeah. And I want to do more than this. And they even had some elite, like polarized, all these weird different names for guys that were being selected out of Blackwater to go do CIA, OGA stuff. Okay. And I was looking at that, but that didn't sound like my cup of tea. Right. And so I was like, I got to go for that dream to do that type of thing.
For those QRF teams, who would you guys QRF for? Right. The military, other PSD elements. Who are you're QRFing yourselves? Who are you guys QRFing?
QRFing ourselves as the primary duty, but as in everything, the war was new. It was developing all the time, and so we just developed into this 911 ambulance force almost. Within the green zone, we were going around collecting body parts and from the rocket attacks, saving civilians, saving Iraqis, contractors in the green zone at night, washing out the trucks of the blood and the pressure hoses, taking them to the hospital, and then we would get them prepped for the morning, and then we would go on the real missions during the day, and we would. And I think Eric Prince said it the best. He came and talked to us one day. He would visit the man camp every once in a while, and he says, I just had this. He went to this gala, this dinner where the Marine Corps general was and the Army general, and they came and personally thanked, according to Eric Prince, they came and personally thanked him because they said, you guys, your quick reaction forces, part of the Red Cell, are the ones that will go no matter what. We don't have to ask permission. So we were going and saving National Guard teams. I don't remember ever coming and rescuing a Marine team. I don't remember them ever calling them on us, but we would go even if we weren't invited. We would hear of a team, we would hear of a team. We would hear of a team, hey man, we got a flat tire. We would overhear it. We would monitor the radios.
Yeah.
Hey, they got a flat tire. If they're there for more than 5 minutes, let's start strolling over.
That's right. Yeah.
Because if you're anywhere sitting in Baghdad, Iraq,
They're moving on you.
In 04 to 08, for 5 minutes or more, your ass getting shot.
It's just a matter of time. Absolutely. I love that. And I love that story about it because I don't know if you realized it or not, but and I'm sure you've seen this and you probably hate it. The idea of what mercenaries are and what they're doing over and it's Hollywood. I get it, but people take that Hollywood and they take it too far sometimes. You look at what a mercenary does during war, and it's ridiculous. It always paints them in a bad picture. It always paints them as some cowboy that disregards all the rules and kills civilians at will, and then they'll cover it up. Just horrible things. Everything you just described was amazing things and positive things that our contractors were doing over there.
Yeah, and what's crazy, Brent, is these guys literally were in the Army, Rangers, in the Marines, like days before Blackwater. And then they basically took off the uniform, transferred to the same weapons, same kit, and now we're just compiled on these teams called Raven or Templar Knights, whatever you want to call it.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It's not like they recruited criminals that were that fresh out of jail. And like, hey, you want to come do criminal stuff over here? You recruited people, and you had to have a good record when you had to have, of course, a good discharge when you got out.
You had to have psychological examination, honorable discharge.
Right. So it's not like they were good Rangers when they were in, but then they just turned into bad guys.
And then
went rogue.
People watch way too much Netflix.
Yeah. So that's I'm really glad you shared those stories because I just wanted to dispel those rumors because I'm not saying every American is good. But let me tell you, America as a whole and its populace as a whole and our military and everything that connects to our military, including contractors who are former military, when they went overseas, 99.999% of them were good people and acted accordingly, even in war. And there was look, when I was team leader and I even caught a guy once, he was mad about a situation. So he's like, I'm going to go smoke those motherfuckers. He said that. I said, hey, you're window or aisle, we said. Like window or aisle. You get a plane ticket tomorrow and you're window or aisle. Like if I hear anything else like that in this team, you're getting kicked out. Yeah. So when we were accused of that later on, it triggers you because you're like, that wasn't me, man. I wasn't there to kill civilians. I wasn't this rogue guy. I literally would have done it for free, Brent. Yeah. And
at one point,
even with that story, someone might go, aha, look, like there was someone there that just wanted to do it. But two things I just want to point out to everyone that just heard that story. One, that's an emotional reaction.
Yep.
And that is understandable.
Yep.
It is very different between your initial emotional reaction of having to bury a dead teammate or hearing over the radio all these Americans that got ambushed and killed and you weren't able to do something about it and feeling like you should have and someone's going to have to pay the price. That's an emotional reaction, completely okay.
Yeah.
But that's the response to an emotional reaction where someone with a level head goes, hold on, let's look at the bigger picture here. And that's what happened.
And that's the difference I saw in a lot of guys, Brent. You had the guys that were there, their buddy gets killed, and they go, I'm going to get these motherfuckers. And then you have that, then you drink a little bit, you have some cigarettes, and you're like, okay. Yeah. The next day, you're like, okay, I'm not going to go gun blazings on the local football team in Iraq.
Right.
But I'm going to take it to the enemy.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
And so you did see a lot of that, those emotions come up, some tears and stuff, man, out there. When a fellow warrior dies, and you see that, and you're covered in his blood, and you have to visit him his buddies in the hospital, whoever's in your team in the hospital, which we did a lot.
Yeah.
A lot of my time in Blackwater was going back and forth to the Baghdad hospital, visiting guys that were destroyed. And so you get anger. But for me, man, I always looked at it as a very even fight as far as like, I'm in his backyard. I would do the same thing. If you were in my backyard, we would be making improvised explosives. If we didn't have a lot of the military capabilities and they were in our country, Americans would do some effed up stuff to defend. Can you imagine?
That's right. And you're absolutely right. And I had the same.
I had
the same view.
very like it was either me or him.
That's right.
No anger, no anger.
Yeah. So when you leave and it's with one goal in mind, to go to the SEALs. You didn't leave to figure out life. Or was there a little bit of that in between that and SEAL teams?
There was a
or
reason.
buds?
Well, there unfortunately in my life, and I really believe that God does this to me, and because I'm so damn stubborn, I will stay somewhere until I like go bankrupt, until I die, until I go to prison. I have to be forced out of situations. Blackwater, and I think we have a clip later on we're going to show, but there's there's our helicopters were getting shot down like every week. We had a Huey go down with one of our awesome Blackwater pilots. My buddy was in there. It got rolled up. I was injured by a grenade. I sent a part of our element, our quick reaction force, immediately there, thinking they're going to die.
Yeah.
They come back from that, and then the next day is the infamous Baghdad's Bloody Sunday, Nisar Square, which I'm the team leader of, which I find myself having to make a call that would change the lives of many people, including myself, including imprisonment of others until Trump pardoned them, because the DOJ vehemently went after him. So that event with the shrapnel in my leg, they said, Jimmy, you got to go home. I was still on good terms with the possibility of going back, which I never would. Once I left Baghdad, it was over for me.
Yeah.
I left home with this injury. Of course, taking the fentanyl, trying to process, with the injury, trying to process what had just happened. But with my end goal and dream to become a SEAL now, I still want to do that. Quite frankly, I didn't think I was smart enough to be a Delta guy. You know what I mean? I know that sounds crazy, but like in all reality, like PJs, Delta, I know their tests are more stringent, right? Probably in here, but in the SEALs, you got the dive physics, you got mechanical comprehension, but I could handle that, especially at my older age now. But I had matured, man, by light years. Yeah. And so physically fit now. I was a beast in Blackwater. And then mentally I had matured. My aptitude was up to speed. And so I knew that was a possibility, but with what just happened in Blackwater and then everything else, I felt like it was just a pipe dream at that point.
So you stayed, for the most part, when you deployed to Blackwater, you stayed there the whole time. Did you ever come back like for quick trips, or you stay there the whole time?
I probably came back a total of 3 times over 4 years. Baghdad was my permanent mailing address. I mean, I got my mail there. My room was dope. It was like something out of Platoon, the opium tent, you got the red light and the lava lamp. I was ordering. But I actually started up teams in Kabul, to answer your question. I left to Kabul, Afghanistan. I started up a couple teams there. Yeah. It was kind of boring. And then we came back.
Random question, but you're over there. You're making good money. Right. And you were there for a long time. Tell me something stupid you spent your money on when you got back.
Oh, man.
Come on. Everyone does it. With big truck.
The rated X version or the rated... If I told you, you'd be like, cut that out immediately.
That's for Patreon.
No. Okay, so Patreon, I'll tell that one. But I had a lot. Can you imagine me coming from the Marine Corps making like $19,000 a year? Right. And I always was real proud. I always had $1,000 in my checking account, and guys would come borrow money from me. Yeah. I mean, that's how it was as an infantryman.
You're a thousandaire at this point. And no one never uses that term, but it's a thing. If you could be a millionaire, you could be a thousandaire.
Bro, I was 100,000aire with hundreds, 1,000 with the hundreds, And but to answer your question, I had a lot of cash, and of course it's just sitting in my checking. Right. And so I come home. I think the stupidest thing was I bought an H2 SUT, the old Hummers. Yeah. Not the old, but you don't see them anymore. The half back, not the the fluffy little Hummers. I'm talking about the badass squared off one.
Yeah.
I bought one of those brand new. I think it was $82,000 cash. Boom, just dropped it.
Yeah.
And I got in it at the dealership. And I was like, and I brought my dad to make him proud, of course, you know.
Right.
And I'll never forget the dealer, the guy that sold it to us was sitting in this chair. He said, take it for a spin. I started it up and I looked at him, I said, not bad for a dude with a GED, huh? And the guy goes, okay, whatever. And I grabbed the stick and I tried to put it in reverse and I couldn't put it in reverse. Right as I said that, and he goes, you got to push that button in. And I was like, oh, my dad was like, oh, super embarrassed, man. Yeah, he was like, well, not bad, you know.
I laugh so hard because I also feel like that's something I would do.
Yeah,
like,
dude.
I don't make a bunch of boastful comments, but for whatever reason, like the few times I do, I usually do something stupid afterwards to remind me why I don't make those type of comments or shouldn't.
That's why I don't make any comments anymore like that, because it's just like not bad for a guy with a GED. And then your mom's at your funeral, you know, you're in a coffin, you're like, damn, that happened quick.
Oh man.
So that was dumb. And then I would just, my whole time in Blackwater, I would drink Red Bull and vodkas during the day if we were off with my buddies in the rooms. We would talk about the tattoos we're going to get when we go home, in these extravagant parties in these penthouses. We were going to all come together and, you know, okay, we're going to get this penthouse in Vegas with this bowling alley. Why do we need a bowling alley? Dude, no, it's cool, man. It's $9,000 for the night. And so I would just go home and just let loose for 2-3 weeks and then come on home, just kind of like hungover, you know, come back. I say home, Baghdad.
You guys ever any of those plans ever come to fruition? Did you ever get together and go to Vegas together?
Yeah, I did that maybe 3 or 4 times. Every time I came home, man, we would just go all out. And we thought we were just ballers, you know, with that kind of money.
Well, you were.
We were.
Yeah, you were to some degree.
To some degree.
Yeah, absolutely. And I get it, like because I lived it as well. You have the mentality, you know, you're going back. You can't take it with you. Like you don't really have this long-term idea that you're going to be an old man.
No, you don't. You don't. You also consign your life away. In order to be in that environment like we were in, doing up to 8 missions a day with the kind of heavies we were taking, losses. Blackwater and the contractors in Iraq lost the same amount of guys as the military did. Some people don't realize that.
Yeah.
But, well, I don't know, 2,500 or so.
Wow.
And across the contracting board.
Right.
And then
I did not know that.
Yeah. And so you're seeing all this death around you. So you kind of almost, I'm like, every time my mom would drive me to the airport, every time I went back to Iraq, I remember her crying and she would wave at me. I wave back and I'd be thinking, man, this very well may be the last time I see her. Every single time. So I kind of embraced the fact that I was not coming home, and that's what made me successful, right?
Yeah, you have to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. You end up going to 2 SEALs. So you're already a Marine, or you're former Marine. I always forget.
Right, yeah.
I always forget how Marines like to ex-Marine, former Marine.
I hate it.
I know
because
there's a particular way they like to be referred to.
I'll even say, I was a Marine. They're like, you are a Marine, devil dog, and I'm like, hey, calm down, Turbo. You know?
So you don't have to go back to naval basic training, correct?
No.
So how does that work? How does that work? Being a former service member, already Marine, and then going straight to buds.
That was a really hard transition. That was the hardest transition I've ever done, because I already went through medicine in Marines, went through the new guy thing, all this stuff, and now I'm starting all over again. Right. And so I made sure the recruiters didn't even know a lot. They were like, well, do you have to go through boot camp? And I'm like, dude, don't you know?
Yeah. And I believe you do not have to, but even that, I don't even know, but I believe you don't.
They have a program called Other Service Veterans. It's for Army, it's for guys that got out of the Navy, go back in. So when I joined the Navy, they sent me to Great Lakes, just like boot camp.
Okay.
And I go there. I got my beard from Blackwater still. I'm not ready to shake it off, right? So I got my beard.
Yeah.
And I show up and I'm like 240 pounds. Even the SEAL instructors, when they first saw me, they said, hey man, we would love to have you with a prior Marine in Blackwater, but there's no way you're making it. Not with that size.
Right.
I was
Absolutely.
no way. And so I walk through the door, and I remember this drill instructor looked at me with this beard, and I have these blue Navy sweats on with my Go Fasters, those shoes, and I am just not ready for this. And he looked at me, he goes, "What the hell are you doing, recruit?" or something, yelled at me.
Right.
And I was like, "F you, bro." Like I went at him and was in this massive yelling, and I had not even checked in really. And I got the chief brought me in, and they said, "Jimmy, I know this is going to be hard for you, but you're in the Navy now. You have to play the game. You got to shave." And I said, "Look, man, I'm trying and stuff." And then they said that, I was flirting with the girls, something crazy. And I said, "No, I wasn't, Chief. I'm not like that." Then they showed a surveillance video in the pool room where I was flirting with a girl, whatever. Yeah. Anyway, so I got my stuff together really quick. And after that, I really, it wasn't a problem, but it was hard to shave and go back into through the MEPS again for the second time, because you don't even know if you're going to make it,
Yeah. I don't normally tell stories, but
go ahead.
It's
Love
your turn,
stories, man.
But it just reminds me.
Dude, you're interesting. That's why I watch your podcast, man.
But I also love doing episodes with friends, because it's just hanging out with friends and a couple cameras.
Right.
So when I was in 20th group, that's where I went to selection and went to CAG. So I was in the National Guard. So I had to go active duty, sign an active duty contract just to go to the Delta Force. So when I show up to MEPS, I have to, even though I'm prior service, actually not necessarily, I'm still in a service. I'm I'm National Guard going active duty, and I'm a sergeant first class, like E7. Like you can't show up.
So you've already kind of been there, done that, and now you're doing it all over.
Right. Long tab, dive school, I don't know, 7 combat rotations, sniper school. I've been selected for Delta Force. Like, hey, you have to show up in civilian clothes and go through MEPS and get out of there. I'm like, okay. So I show up, and this young lady looks at my paperwork and goes, "This is all wrong." I think I'm 29 at the time. He's like, "This is all wrong."
Oh, so you were older.
Yeah.
You doing this.
She goes, "It says 18 Echo. You want to be an 18 Echo. This should say 18 X-ray." And I said, "No, ma'am. I'm an 18 Echo." And they're like, "No, you don't understand. You want to be an 18 Echo. You're joining to be an 18 X-ray.
Right.
You have to go." And she's trying to explain to me, you have to go through some selection process and go to the MOS. I'm like, "Yes, ma'am. I understand that, Buck Sergeant, but Sergeant First Class Tucker here talking to you, that is a Green Beret, that's going to the Delta Force. These are things in my mind, but instead I'm just like, yeah, I understand. I've already done that." She's like, "Are you sure?" I'm like, "Yes,
yeah,
I'm
that's
sure."
rough. It's a humbling process.
It was so humbling. I only had to do it for a day, and it almost broke me. So I understand.
Yeah, so it was really, well, what was really humbling for me hard is, when I was going through the pain train in Buds after Great Lakes, like, you get a Buds and I'm falling behind the group of guys, and I'm slugging it out because over 200 pounds, you were getting gooned, son. And I'm getting gooned every day. They're making me put sand on my crotch, in my UDTs and just roll around all day. And I remember getting gooned, and one of the instructors, Cheswick, rolled up and he goes, "Jimmy, man." And he knew me from Blackwater as a team leader. The instructors knew me. So they were kind of rooting for me, but they don't give any, they don't pull any, they don't care at the end of the day. And he's like, "Jimmy, get in the freaking truck, bro." He goes, "Get some, we'll go grab beers after this, man." He goes, "What are you doing here, man? You already done all this bullshit. You don't even want to be a SEAL." And he was being serious. It wasn't some psychological trying to talk me out. He was like, "Dude, you've already done this." And I was like, "I know, man. I got to, man." And so that was hard because I felt like I was so behind the curve, but in reality, I was. It was a great choice as long as I made it. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Gambles only pay off when you win.
Exactly. Don't put your money in the crypto right now. You'll lose like me.
It'll come back, Jimmy.
Yeah,
it'll
it's got to come back, guys.
Yeah.
It's got to go back.
Because you're absolutely right. I've said this about me. I just never wanted to live a life where I had regrets. So everything I wanted to do was like, I feel like I want to do it. So I feel like if I don't do it, it'll give the ammo for me to look back and be like, oh, I should have done that.
Exactly.
And so you clearly had this driving force that, and I'll maybe speak for you a little bit, but correct me if I'm wrong. And it's true. You've already done everything.
Right.
But for some reason, there is a difference between doing it for a contract company and doing it for the military. Like and it's almost hard to really explain that. And maybe you could do a better job because you're the one that did both of those.
Well, I'll tell you what it is. You feel like you kind of cheated the system. You're in this, you're almost in this like rogue special operations A-team kind of group with Blackwater. Your beards, tan leather skin. You're like you got little bitty plate hangers like this. You don't have to salute. You could basically say F you to a general. It probably wouldn't turn out well in the end.
Right.
But you've got black diplomatic passports before they we're smuggling guns, and then they took our black diplomatic.
Someone
passport.
always screws it up.
Yeah, they're flying me first class on Continental Air, caviar and ice cream, and you're just treated like a king. The girls love you there because you're so different. You're not military, and even I would say some of maybe the not CAG, but some I would say more of the special the vanilla teams were jealous because here they are having a shave on a PSD team in Iraq, and here we are goed out. Well, so there's that, and then but there's this deep missing thing in you saying, but you haven't really been tested. You cheated the system kind of because of time and chance, and with this Blackwater thing just happened, and you made it through. But you can call yourself tier 2, tier 1 guy in this civilian world, but you haven't been through the proving ground,
right?
And so I still had to go through that proving, and I had a long ways to go, Brent, as you know, going through a selection like ours, and through buds. It was no joke, SEALs.
Everyone knows about it, but actually I don't think, and obviously I've interviewed dozens of SEALs at this point. We've talked about buds. Everybody knows about it, yeah. Kind of, but you never get a back and forth conversation. If you hear an interview, read it in the book, Hell Week. So everyone knows like how bad that is.
Right.
Like you just get a few hours. It just absolutely breaks people.
Yeah.
Not too long ago, I believe it killed a man.
Yeah, it can kill you.
And they got in trouble for that. That's not the norm.
Right.
And I think that ended up being a couple things steroid related. And I don't really want to get into that because I think that's.
Well, you got walking pneumonia, you got VEEG, you got all kinds of things going on.
But you're aware that Hell Week is coming up,
right?
And you've heard all the stories,
right?
So my question is, was Hell Week as bad as you thought it was going to be? Because you've already built it up in your mind,
right?
Or was it worse than you ever imagined?
Let me put it like this: like I've heard guys say that they would do Hell Week again, and it's so bullshit. Because that same guy, I saw him crying under a log for 3 hours,
right?
Almost quitting. Everybody's thinking about quitting the whole time. I'll put it like this: when I showed up as 250 guys, gung ho, nobody's quitting.
Right.
And you look at a class that just went through Hell Week, just a few weeks ahead of you, and it's 10 guys.
Yeah.
And they look like Bozo the Clown, bald on top because the boats ripped their hair off. And they're like, they talk like that with no voice. And they're just like chafing everywhere. That puts it in perspective. So I didn't know what to expect, but I knew it was going to be bad in 10 times that, right?
Yeah.
But when we went in there, the classes dwindled down to like 100 guys that you look at each other, you go, there's no way he's quitting. There's no way he's quitting. I had to make new friends.
Yeah.
When the sun finally came out momentarily on our last day of graduating Hell Week, I had to make new friends because everyone that I thought would make it was gone.
Yeah.
And it was every bit as hard as I imagine and way worse, because there was moments where there was no reason to stay anymore. You know, it's mommy, daddy don't matter anymore. Their distant voice, you're going, well, why don't you come do it then? You know, like screw you. You know, your friends saying, oh, you're going to quit, or whoever. You don't care about any of that. You just, it's survival of, I need heat, and I'm because I feel like I'm dying from within. It's so cold.
Yeah. And, you know, a lot of different special operations will have something similar to that.
Right.
And what people don't understand is this. When you go through something 4 or 5 days long, but to that degree, almost everyone can stick it out for 24 hours.
Exactly.
You can stand on your head for 24 hours if you had to.
You could do a lot.
So it's not that what they're asking you to do is humanly impossible, but there's just something about the second day being asked to do it all over again, already knowing how bad the first day was, and you're doing it not at 100% because you already did that yesterday, and then the next day, and then the next day, and now people are starting to separate the men from the boys.
Yeah, and there's also, Brent, you said it very well. There's also a realization that I've seen, guys, that they actually know that they can make it. They actually are not quitting because it's so, but they realize, you can see it in their eyes. I saw a guy once around day 3 of Hell Week. He was sitting, he was an all-star, always number one. He was sitting across from me and he was eating, and he just kept getting slower, and finally he just dropped his spoon like this. And I'll never forget, a tear rolled out of his eye and turned to mud in his face because we're all shaking and we're getting that little limited food. And I go, hey, pick up because if you stop doing that, they're going to come after you. Yeah. And the instructor was coming, and he was just like, I can't go anymore. And I knew what he was saying. He could go, but he knew the reality of this is team life. And so the realization hits you around day 3 or 4 that, oh my God, this is what my job's going to be like the next 6 years.
Yeah.
You know, so a lot of guys just don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah. And quitters, for some reason, have had 2 different reactions to me. And usually I either depends on the man or how they do it. Quitters either disgust me, and I'm like,
get out of here.
Get out of here, you quitter. You know? And there are sometimes someone quits and it's heartbreaking.
It's hard.
Because let's say you know that man and you know how much he wanted this, and this is a dream of his, and he's trained for this, and you even know deep down he's capable of this, but he just gave up, and it almost hurts to watch certain men quit because, like, man, he had it, but just by quitting, you cannot be here because we didn't know at the time, and you didn't know at the time, but we're gonna have worse days. You think this is the worst? Worse. We are going to have worse days than this, where real life and death is on the line. And we cannot have quitters.
No, I used to think it was kind of brutal for the instructors to laugh at guys as they were walking away. Or sometimes the instructors would be like, good job. Yes. Excellent. We need a couple more guys to quit before sundown. And I remember thinking, what an asshole. But I totally understand why. Because in 2 years' time, you're on that team with that guy that was this close to quitting, or he quit and then he begged to come back, like some of them did. And there's no room for that. This is life and death. And so there was times where we clapped, everybody, the whole class, because you know we applaud a guy that quits when we know, you said it just right, when we know he could have done more. But you shed tears for a guy proverbially when you know he's at his he can't go on.
We at a particular selection I was at, there was when I was cadre there, we were told as cadre, if a guy ever says the words "I quit," he's done. He's done.
Done.
You can't say "I quit," get checked out. I'm like, you know what? I'm not on the truck yet. I want to keep going. And what they'd say is, you can have a change of mind, but you'll never have a change of heart.
Right. I like that.
You can have a change of mind, but you will not have a change of heart. Your heart, you're a quitter at heart. And when you've mumbled the words "I quit," you can have a change of mind, but you won't have a change of heart. And that stuck with me. I was like, man, that's absolutely true, because the real ones, as much as they wanted to, and I know for a fact, I didn't even do what you did, as far as that selection process and the seals, but I know for a fact there was a moment that you thought about quitting.
Yeah.
But also the thought of you actually saying those words made you sick to your stomach.
Well, yeah,
it's crazy because you want to, and it's frustrating. I want to quit so bad. I just don't know how to.
Exactly. And they always say, what's the secret? The running joke is, what's the secret to buds? And they have a huge rock at the Buds compound, this massive rock. I don't know how they got it there, like a crane. And there's a plaque that says the secret to not quitting Buds is underneath this rock. Well, I do have the secret to not quitting things in life. And I learned this in Hell Week, was about the third day when 40 of my guys, we had record lows. And they even had a newspaper clipping of 1919. It was 1919. It was a record low. It was like a joke from God on my class. The instructors were in parkas and around bonfires, and you're out there. They don't care if everybody falls and dies there. It seems like it. And I remember on Wednesday night, 40 guys rang the bell in a row, and we're just sitting there on these gunnel tubes. And I had a little MRE they allowed me to get, and I pushed the mashed potatoes up, and it was ice. It was crusted over ice, and I was sucking on it like a popsicle. Yeah. That was my food. And we're about to go into this roaring ocean, crashing waves right next to us, and they're just taunting us like, get ready, it's going to get way worse. Well, as these guys are quitting, I remember the instructor came up, and I couldn't put my arms down, and my hips hurt really bad because I had shake for, you shake like this, freezing cold for 3 days and 3 nights. You just don't have, it hurts. There's pain involved. And he came over, and I couldn't lift my head up like this because it hurt to move. And he came over and he kicked the side of my boat that I was singing. He goes, Watson, you going to join your class? And usually that means join your class means move on with your class. He was saying join your classes and everyone's quitting. What are you going to do? And this doesn't make me any more of a man than them. Okay, every man has his breaking point. And I literally thought of getting up and joining him right when he said it. It just triggered something, and I was this close to doing it. But I looked up at him, and I almost was like, it's over. I'm done. Because they were getting these hot wool blankets out of the ovens in a beanie and a cup of soup and hot coffee. But when I looked at him, I could see my room in the distance with a light on it where one of my roommates had quit, and he was probably taking a shower, and he was going to sleep for 3 days. And I thought, man, that would be great. But when I woke up, everything, I would remember that I had to remember what I had been through just to get there. And I would remember that the rest of my life, when I woke up, it was over.
Absolutely.
And so just remembering where you came from, I think people forget. That's why CEOs get caught with the girl on the kissing cam. They make all this money. They do, people, you went through all this hardship. You forget about it somewhere, and then you do stupid stuff because you forget about how hard it was to get there. So I remembered the pain that it took to get there.
Yeah, we used to, in my selection, we used to make a joke. My core group of guys, we'd see someone quit, and someone inevitably would ask, "Hey, you going to quit too?" And we'd always go, "Yeah, but I'll quit tomorrow."
Yeah, right. Yeah.
That was always
Just to postpone the quitting.
I'm gonna quit tomorrow, and that was always our answer: is we'll quit tomorrow. And guess what? Tomorrow I'll quit tomorrow. And what's of course that was just a joke because none of us were ever going to quit, or so we believed.
But psychologically, you got to put it off.
That's right. But quitting is contagious. It really is.
Oh my God!
Because if someone's thinking of quitting, there's someone else thinking of quitting. And it's always, there are times you'll have ones and twosy quitters, but when they really put the screws to you, it's amazing. It usually takes that one guy to break, and then the 8 other guys that were also thinking about quitting also quit.
Right.
But the other thing, but staying strong is also contagious. And all it takes is one guy on that log to laugh and be like, we'll do this all day. I got this. Come on, guys. This is best time of my life. Best job I ever had. You're paying me to work out. That and the mood completely changes.
That's why I like to joke. I joke around a lot on my social media stuff, but you just hit something real important there. We must laugh at man to avoid crying for him, Napoleon once said, because he had seen the battlefields. And there's a point where you got to laugh your way through life. So a lot of times the guys that are joking, they're having fun, there's deep pain there, but they've learned to just not take things so hard and serious. Yeah. And that's kind of what I did through Buds. That was the secret too, is just laughing, joking, they bring it up. Cause there is a point, you brought up a great point. And there's a point in Hell Week where nobody, you could kill him, the bird on the wire in G.I. Jane. He'll stay there till he dies. And that's around day 4 or 5. Nobody quits, nobody. Yeah. And there's a point you could have, like me, I had a fractured ankle. There was a point where there was a switch that got flipped, and it was from then it was smooth sailing, even though it got worse.
Yeah, it's a point of no return.
Yeah, you were like, "Bring it!" You would yell at them, flip the instructors off, crazy stuff. Taunt them.
I love that. I'm glad I asked you about that because I think it gets glossed over sometimes.
Right.
Everybody's
heard the Buds, but
they've already heard it. But you don't always get to hear someone's personal story about it. Because I'll tell you what, Hell Week intimidates me, and I'm not. Oh man, I've seen a few things.
It intimidates. Yeah.
Okay.
If it intimidates Brent, it's over.
Don't get me wrong. 10 times out of 10, I graduate that, but
you damn right.
But I know that is difficult. Well, that is a gut check.
It doesn't take away from any other selection. I know there's probably selections that I would have never made it because they're just difficult in real hard scenarios, But as far as just the grind, but I'll tell you, like what you said earlier too, it only gets harder.
Yeah.
And I didn't believe the instructors. I said, bullshit. When I was at my coldest, guess what? Went to special missions units, JSOC, the STVs. You're going to be in pain. And there ain't no ambulance this time. You know what I mean?
Oh, right.
Ain't no wool blanket to get you.
There's no gun in the ocean.
No.
If you've ever been to any of my tactical training classes, then you know how adamant I am about the use of white light and the importance of a quality, high-powered tactical light. That's why I use cloud defensive tac lights. You can't hit what you can't see, and neither can the bad guys. Clearly identify your target and simultaneously overwhelm his vision with hundreds and even thousands of lumens. Get serious about defending yourself and your family. Go to clouddefensive.com and use promo code TIER1 to get 30% off your order. That's right, 30%. You won't find a better light than this, and you won't find a better deal than this.
When you finally did you recycle anything during SEAL training?
I made it through first phase on a broken ankle.
Right.
And so having made it all the way through my first time through first phase, when I entered into second phase, I had that fractured ankle, and then I mouthed off to one. I was being too funny. There's a more. I called this place. A guy said they beat the shit out. They gave us a level 3 after Hell Week in the second phase.
Okay.
A level 3 is the CO has to sign out of the base.
Okay.
They bring out all the instructors from all the phases, and your life is over. It's like it's going to be hell. And a level 3 is when they bring the ambulances and they just beat the shit out of your class because you got cocky or something.
Okay.
And after the level 3, they said, "Do you have any more jokes?" And this is in front of everybody. They said, "Do you have any more jokes? Anybody? No?" And of course, nobody's going to say. And we were so beat. I raised my hand, and I don't know why. I raised my hand, and they were like, "Are you?" I heard one of the instructors go, "Are you fucking kidding me?" And they're like, "Stand up, watch it." They said, "Come on, come over here. You got a joke?" And I said, "I do. Yes, sir. Yes, whatever." And I got from the class, and they said, "Tell us your joke." And everybody's like going, "Oh my," putting their head, "Oh my God." And I said, "This place is a shithole." And I mean, the way I said it was funny. Like some guys laughed and stuff. And because that was kind of the thing. One guy had said it was kind of a shitty place. And the instructor goes, "We'll show you." what shithole? And he goes, does anybody else got a joke? And I said, yeah, this place is a shithole. And that got I painted a target on my back. They told me to get in the SDV. They have this little bin of ice water that you put ice in it every day.
Yeah.
And you got to get in the SDV. I had to get in it with a pipe and breathe through the PVC pipe. They wanted me down below the whole time in a PVC pipe. After that, it was hell. And then one after another guy came out of that group because they said, does anybody else got something? And another guy would raise his hand and they said, what do you got to say? He'd be like, this place is a shithole. And they joined me. So there was 4 of us out of the whole group. And I love it. So I got put on the chain gang after that. The chain gang is the worst thing you can. At 3 a.m, they could say chain gang, and you got to run in the ocean, and you're just so done with cold. Anyways, I got rolled basically for that. Okay, because I had twisted lines underwater with my dive gear. It was the same guy that was pissed at me. Yeah. Everybody else really liked me, but he had it out for me.
It happens.
Yeah.
Maybe it was worth it. I don't know. There's sometimes you got to sit there. Sometimes
as a regret.
You regret that one a little bit.
Yeah, that was because it really didn't pay off at all. It was just dumb, dumb, like hard nosed, like kind of remind me was a kid in school, just kind of an ass.
Yeah. The when you graduated, well, right off the bat, when you got that trident pinned on your chest for the first time.
Right.
Tell me how that felt.
That was that when 100 men test today and 3 win the Green Beret moment for me. Yeah. My dad came and I was always trying to get that seeking validation, I think, from him. He was a Texas judge, a preacher, hard-nosed, guy. Everything came pretty easy to him. Math, he had a petroleum technology degree, theology degree, and he was always kind of like, why don't you get it? And so here I am. He comes to Bud's, and it was really to impress him, I think, more than anything. I hate to admit it. Yeah. But he came, and I remember he always would say, you're almost there, son, when he would see me. I'd be jacked. Dad, what you think? Well, my shirt. He'd be like, you're almost there, son. There was never good job. There was never good. And I said, Dad, what'd you think? As our running joke we always have after SEALs, and he looked at me. And he looked at there was blood on the pull-up bars, on the grinder when they graduate. If you look at the pull-up bars, it's wrapped in medical white tape. Right. You lose all your skin. And there's blood stains all over it. And then he saw the sand in my room, and he just he was like, you're almost there, son. But it was hard for him to say it because he knew, and I was like, that's what I thought, Yeah. So that moment for me was, especially after what I had been through, and this is applicable for people watch this, man. It just goes to show you, man, you can go through hell and think it's over, and then completely have a shift, and a universal epic shift, and then be walking across that proverbial stage, which getting your pinned on, So for me, it was big,
Yeah, I try to tell my friends this, and it's hard. It's hard to hear when you're the one in the tough times. But usually, tough times seem to come out of nowhere, or it comes quick. And sometimes it leaves quick, but sometimes it sticks around for a while. But let me tell you, times can get better just as fast as they got bad.
Oh man,
and that's not necessarily the truth. That's not necessarily the way, but you have to hope for it. You have to think that things are going to get better. And guess what? Things could get better tomorrow. And you have to hope that way. But if they don't, then they'll slowly get better. But you have to, and it's just another thing that just is stuck with me. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Because you only have 2 options, 6 feet under or 6 feet forward.
Yeah.
Those are the only 2 options you have.
Yeah, and you might as well take it to him. So you might as well raise your hands and say, do your worst, I'm going to do mine.
And that's right. And if those are my 2 options, then it's 6 foot forward. And
that's right.
And if you're going 6 foot forward, everything, just like you were talking about Hell Week, and we were talking about, everything's a mentality. To be beat down and to be depressed, and I've done it too, but even depression, people aren't going to like this, and that's okay.
Right.
Depression's a choice.
It really is, and I can say that from being in it.
It's happiness. is a choice. Now, don't get me wrong. The longer you've made a bad choice, the harder it is to reverse that. That's why it's so important to reverse those bad decisions quickly. But it's a choice, and I firmly believe that.
I believe it too. There's a. I always say, like, if you can be thankful and praise God or be thankful and joyous in a dungeon, then you will be doing that in a palace one day. Because it's like it's something that happens with the universe. I believe God actually literally sees you, in your worst time. And you may be a bag of ass. You may be doing every vice known to mankind. You may be a piece of crap by man's standards. But I really believe God sees who you really are in your heart. And,
of course he does.
And he sees that and he says, man, okay, I can use this guy. He's rough. This guy, Jimmy's rough, man. Rough around the edges, wild, always on the cusp. But I can work with that as long as he falls down on his knees at some point. Because I always humble myself. After I rose like this, I would come back down and say, okay, God, I'm ready. Like, I'm done running.
Yeah. When after you graduated, did you get assigned to SDV right off the bat?
No, you go to SQT. You got a long ways to go. Went to French foreign language school, all that stuff,
Right.
and then as I was at the end of SQT, a group of guys came in and basically tricked us. They came in and because they're there, they want to leave, Right. But they came in and they looked cool. They were like, oh, who is this, Yeah. And they're like, look, all we can tell you is you're going to be, you're going to be briefing the president. You might die. They threw that in there to appeal the crazy ones like me. You're going to get injured, a diving accident probably, and you're going to do some badass stuff that you're never going to be able to talk about, kind of thing. They said that very short, and they said, who wants to join SDV? Me and this other guy were like, why? And people ask me, why did you go to SDV, man? That's crazy. And my answer is, I had already done the desert. Right. I had already done all the land stuff pretty much. I got my feel of it enough to take a chance.
Yeah.
But I look back and SDV was a very wild choice because it was not fun. I mean, I didn't like diving anyways. And here I go to a very intensive diving unit.
Yeah.
But so that's I went to SDV school in Panama City Beach when they still had it there for 10 weeks. And then I went straight from there to Hawaii.
Were they right with their pitch?
No, there was some lies in there. You might die. Yes, you're going to get injured. But this whole, some of the other stuff, I even worry about what I can say. But anyways, super super serious shit. I mean, if I always say, man, like people need to have a little more confidence in America's abilities because no one has the capabilities of the elite American forces like CAG.
Love to hear it.
Like our Trident subs, like our SEAL teams. There's certain elements in the SEALs. There's certain things going on out there that me being part of it, I wasn't even allowed to be knowledge of. Yeah. And that's when it's pretty serious.
Like I told you before the podcast when we were talking, I've since getting out, I've met a few guys from SDV.
Right.
And I didn't realize until talking to them, more off the record stuff, like how special SDV really is.
Right.
And it's not always like the sexy cool stuff,
right,
but the capability and what they can do is really cool. And it is not your normal SEAL team.
No, it is so far out there that I'll say even our allies are like in World War II era of what we're doing, and we're like up here, And I'll just say, I had a friend, one of my best homies, come and visit me recently in Miami, and he's been in that game for years. And I'll tell you, sitting across from him, hearing not the secret stories because we don't even talk amongst each other, but knowing what he's done and knowing where he's been, and I'm telling you, man, the impressive chart is through the roof with these guys, and people just don't know. It's it's next level stuff. And I've got like the utmost respect for the guys that I serve with in there because, people just don't realize how serious it is, what we're doing.
Let's talk about real quick, because if you guys don't know Jimmy's story, as impressive as the military and contracting is,
Thanks, man.
And it is.
Thanks.
It's only half your story.
It's the first one, yeah.
So, but let's briefly touch how your military story ends, which transitions into the other part of your crazy life.
Yeah. So one of the promises of the group of guys that came and talked to us about SCV was that you're going to get injured, and so I definitely had an arterial gas embolism. One of my buddies, Knuckles, who's a great guy, he saved me while we were doing a visit board search and seizure training during the day. Easy dive. We rarely do anything during the day. But we weren't tied into each other. And I think I've told you this story before, but we were about to board the ship underwater on a lizard line. We take all of our gear off. Probably one of the more dangerous things we do. But during the day, at least you can see. So we were taking all of our stuff off on a breath hold underwater and then FSA, free surface ascent.
Yep.
And you know all about this. You explained on the anti-hero. But we were going up, not past your bubbles with the weapon drawn, ready to go. And then we hook and climb over the ship, take down the ship, and do these reiteration runs.
Right.
But this training can be exhausted. Doing these runs and then the CQB and then coming back in the water. And on my second run, I passed out underwater while I was trying to put my gear on. My buddy cracks my secumars and shoots me to the surface like a rocket.
Yeah.
I in turn return. He saves me, but I get injured in that how he saved me because I get the bubble. That would have been okay, and I would have just got compressed like any other time.
Right.
But a big weird thing happened where they let me go on the weekend. The main doctor was gone. Long story short, I had major issues for about 2 years. Stayed as a team leader, stayed as a mission specialist, sniper, but my career was coming to an end. They offered me as an instructor job, but I chose to get out. I also had an incredible amount of persecution and legal things going on too. But I was able to fully retire out with all my medical and with all the honors and stuff. But it was over. My career was over.
It's going to sound judgy. I don't mean for it to be that way. But as a dive supervisor, just that story blows my mind.
Dude, it's crazy.
It blows my mind how competent you guys are in the water. Absolutely, like this. Way more competent than I ever was because it was your job.
It's on another level, and it was. I was at the lower end probably.
And that they didn't press you 60 for 60.
Stupid.
60 feet for 60 minutes. You're right. Just to get the initial table in and assess you and see what's.
It was a 4th of July weekend, and what guy what guy is going to say, yeah, I need to get pressed when I got on? It's not up to me.
That's right.
I was seizing out underwater.
That's right.
When in doubt, you press out. I was seizing underwater.
Yeah.
I come up to the surface. My buddy's slapping me. They put me on the boat, and the dive medical officer on call, which was a brand new girl at a highly sophisticated dive command, says, "Are you okay?" And I said, "I'm good to go. Put me back in." And I'm all snot jumbled, cross-eyed. And she's like, "No. We're going to keep you on the boat." It was 4th of July weekend, and my chief was like, "You're not going to press him out? You're not going to press him?" He was seasoned.
Yeah.
And she was like, "No, he seems okay. I don't see any neurological things. I'm a tough bastard. You're a tough bastard. Sometimes we just shake it off." I'm shaking a little bit, and they let me go. And about 3 days later, over the weekend, time to come home, half of my body's not paralyzed, but what do you call it when you can't feel the left side of your body, but you can still feel, but it's numb.
Yeah, it's and it's not to go into a dive injury breakdown, but it's so crazy because it's an air bubble in your system,
right?
It's a bubble of air, and it is crazy what bubbles of air inside your body will do, what it'll do to you.
Stop the blood flow. It's like put a rubber band on your hand for 2 weeks, and the oxygen stops to your brain.
Yeah. So you end up medically retiring.
So some people got fired. I chose to get out, medically retired, honorable. Now, I always say honorable's not on a piece of paper necessarily, but I did get out. I do have the honorable from the Marines too, but got out. But now I'm lost, man, because I don't know what the hell I'm going to do. My plan was to stay in like my buddy, 30 years, Master Chief, Command Master Chief.
Yeah.
Now I'm out, and I didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
And so that's when, long story short, that's when out of nowhere, just like you said, things can go from low, even having dark thoughts, the darkest of thoughts, to getting a call from John McAfee, the antivirus legend, who created the McAfee antivirus, genius, legend, calls me on my cell phone after my buddy TCAF, told me that this guy is going to call me. Now, I don't know his connection, but he knew a guy that knew John McAfee. John McAfee wanted a SEAL to come protect him, those specific words. And so John McAfee calls me. He said, "How much you charge, boy?" And I'm like, who the heck is this guy calling boy? But anyways, I said, 500 to 1,000 a day. He said, "That's preposterous." And he spit out his scotch. I knew he was drinking scotch because that's all he ever drank. And then he said, "I only pay my Green Berets $250. And I don't know why I said this, but I just said, "Well, it's your life, sir." But I would have done it for $100 because I needed the money, and I needed adventure. Every man's got to have an adventure. So, long story short, I go to guard McAfee. He takes me in like a son, a right-hand man son. He didn't have any kids. Well, he claimed to have like 36 kids, but he didn't have a son. He kind of took me in like a son. That's the only way I can explain it. He taught me everything that he could through a fire hose. He really bolstered me up. He called me an intellect and how smart I was. I started making him tons of money. But for me, he called me his Irish luck charm. Like I pulled in all this money in cash. Well, at the end of the day, I just thought it was because of the McAfee name, which it was. And the crypto market was in a huge bull run. And so everybody was making money. I made him a ton of money. I made a lot of money. And then, of course, we had just a crazy, crazy life together, me and him, for 2 years. And then that's when we had a big falling out. I didn't agree. I became CEO of his company. I went from the dungeon to the palace, man, proverbially,
And if anyone wants to look a little bit more of what he's talking about, there's a documentary called "Running with the Devil."
Right,
And I
Running
believe
with the
it's-
Devil.
Yeah, and that documentary will blow your mind. And then if you watch it after this, that was Jimmy's life. Like that was Jimmy as the CEO of his company. He went on the run, and
we lived together. He literally wouldn't sleep unless he was so close to me. He literally wouldn't sleep unless I was in the couch adjacent to his bed or right outside the door with the door cracked open a little bit.
Yeah.
But he was very volatile. We moved 6 times in 2 years. He was extremely paranoid. Always, but the only reason why I never got fired, and he always would come back to his senses with me, was that I was the only one he ever reached out to. It was very unique.
Yeah.
Everybody, including his wife, who was an actual prostitute, Janice, a self-admitted prostitute, had approached him. She approached him at a table in Miami and said, I'm here to rob you, and he was like, "Okay, great, sit down." At least she told the truth. And so he loved me, man, and he gave me everything, kind of the keys to the kingdom, and I went from 500 a day to 1,000 to 2,000 and 3 Ethereum a day to 20,000 every deal I made. So I started really living high on the horse, man.
Yeah, what's so crazy? It's such a crazy
Oh, it was crazy
story and life that
it was
especially
crazy.
while you're in the middle of it, that you still have to look back. When you're in the middle of it, you have to go, why me? How did I get there?
Especially after what I had been through. And that's what I try to tell people all the time on my platform, Brent. It's like, just because something doesn't work out doesn't mean it's the end of the road. Like I literally thought, as crazy and maybe superficial as it sounds, that title was everything to me.
Right.
I am the guy that lived behind that title. I was a SEAL, not Jimmy. I'm a SEAL. I'm not Jimmy. And when that was ripped from me, what I mean by ripped, it wasn't ripped from me, but when I got out, you might as well rip it from me. I'm no longer part of the team, no longer hanging out with the guys. I'm just in this house in Valley Center, California, thinking about offing myself because I think like I'm that short-sighted and don't remember the blessings of the past. And so I'm so trapped in my own world, going through this terrible divorce that I think it's over. Well, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, that phone call, and now I literally had half of McAfee's gold. He had a Bentley, $750,000 car, everything you could imagine, partying with Russian oligarchs in Ibiza, gold-plated jet. I mean, the yachts, parties, and I was treated like boss. I was called boss by my own guards. They were guarding him, but since I was with him all the time, they were guarding me. And I'll tell you that if you're not stable, things are going to come crashing down, and that's what happened to me.
Don't get me wrong, even though you got specialty pay and the Navy's a SEAL, I don't think you were raking it in. But you were familiar with more money than you needed as a contractor, safe to say?
Yep, exactly. A couple times in life, yeah.
Even then, as a SEAL, then you went to enough. You had enough. You're not raking it in, but you make enough. And now you started this out, and it continues to grow, and you have more money than you could probably ever imagine.
Yeah, too much for a guy like me.
And so directly, like correlating that, you have almost too much money. You must be the happiest you've ever been in life.
There were. It's a crazy thing. It's like I was so happy, but I don't know if it was a real happiness. It was all contingent upon my status, the money, and that's a scary thing. I was just thinking about that the other day. Do you remember the guys jumping out of windows? I mean, of course, we weren't around, but in the Great Depression or when the stock market crashed.
Right.
You think of these guys, what does it take to jump out of a window in New York because you lose everything overnight? And that's a scary place to be. Like, okay, what if I lose my whole social media following overnight? Well, it's happened pretty much last year. And then I rebuild. Like, no, you have to have a mindset of no, you have to be willing to be stripped of everything right now and still maintain at least a somewhat positive attitude. But that is one flaky, weak man to jump out of a window if you lose all your money tomorrow. Or like me, lose everything. And that's happened to me multiple times in my life where I had to crawl back out of it.
It is a flaky, weak man. And I'm gonna dig into this a little bit. And I already know that's what I'm about to say doesn't necessarily contrast you.
Right.
But if you were to talk more about it, this is, I think, how you would feel as well. I get it. Like, you lost everything. Like, those fleeting thoughts, that's what they should be. Those fleeting thoughts that go through your mind of I've lost everything.
Right.
Let's end it.
Oh, yeah.
And just to harp on that so much, because people talk about mental health and they want all these things and they give bad advice that's why our mental health problem is as worse as ever. We talk about it more than anything else.
Right.
Because people are giving bad advice about it. Because it's a choice. Everything in life is a choice. I'm not upset that they had those thoughts. I'm upset that they acted on it because everything's a choice. It should have went through their mind and they should have said, no, I'm not going to think about this. I made this. If I made it once, I can make it again. You have to stop those negative thoughts. And only you can do that. You have to stop it. You have to redirect your thoughts to something more positive and then charge.
Yeah, and I think some people might hear you say that in what I'm saying right now. Oh, it's a choice, and say, "Well, you just don't know." No, we're not saying that it's not okay to cry on your carpet and grovel around for an hour, but you get back up and you walk out the door. Get your shit together, bootstraps, and go back at it.
I've had a good cry session before.
Oh well,
the difference is, at some point, the ones that make it through get it out, or at one point they stop, say, this is enough. But my warning is, the longer the longer you let it go, the harder that decision is to turn things around.
Yeah, absolutely. It's
The
like an
sooner you
addiction.
nip that in the bud, the easier it is. And it doesn't feel like it because that's not what you want to do at the time.
Right.
But guess what? When you go down that road for a while and you look back, you'll find out actually that was the best time to stop this, because once you start wallowing in that mud, you become comfortable in that mud. You don't want to get out of it.
Yeah, something that helped me out tremendously not too long ago was a guy said, Jimmy, when's the best time to plant a tree? And I said, I don't know. He goes, yesterday. He said, what if, and I said, okay. He said, what if you didn't plant it yesterday? I said, today. And man, that stuck with me. You know, with about it, like, when's the best time to diet? You know, yesterday. Well, you didn't die yesterday. When's the best time? Right now. Because that tree, that time's going to go past. That tree's going to grow with or without you. And you got to plant them seeds, man.
Yeah, it's similar. Just it reminds me of it. When I was in SF, they had just come out with this secure Wi-Fi, and so before that, we always had to go to these computers that were attached to the red line cables. It's like, why don't we get secure Wi-Fi? Like, I'm tired of going. Like, it'd be a lot easier. Like, they're like, it takes 90 days for that to get approved. And I said, if you'd have done it 90 days ago, we'd have Wi-Fi right now. And if you start right now in 90 days, we'll have secure Wi-Fi. Like, I don't get that mentality. I just don't.
That's right. That's right. And one of my problems was I was in this vicious cycle of every 6 months. I thought buds was 6 months, is way longer than that. But at the time, I thought 6 months was a buds. So every 6 months that would go past, I would say, even when I was in Blackwater doing well, I would be like, damn, I could have done it, but there goes another 6 months. You know, the day is now. We're not promised tomorrow, of course.
Absolutely.
As cliche as that may sound, it's true. We are not promising things. So I'm always like, yo, got to start somewhere. Get your GED. Go get a driver's license. You know, do it. You know, the bare minimum, and then start working your way up. And maybe you're going to be a CEO of a company one day.
So when you had more money and yet it got taken away from you, as again, you probably have to go watch the documentary. All this will make a lot more sense.
Had a ton.
What's that?
Yeah, I had a ton of money.
Okay.
More than I could ever imagine. In fact, I had so much money that I didn't think it was possible, even in the worst case scenario, that you could lose it. So I did anything I want. I was like, I can't lose this money.
Yeah.
Well, boy, that was dumb. That was dumb. When you got, anyways, it was dumb.
So, and I'm fairly certain when it goes from that to, no, you know what? I can't lose it all. You know what? John McAfee is arrested and he's going to jail. He ends up committing suicide in jail, if you believe it.
Right.
And your cash cow has been taken away. Like,
right.
It's fallen. So I'm pretty sure that was pretty devastating for you.
It was,
I mean, you yourself that, and not to cut you off, but just actually to connect this as well. It wasn't just McAfee's legal problems. His legal problems spilled over to you.
Man, did it ever? You know, when I learned a lot about the legal system in my life, and I'll tell you, when you're the leader of the company, some much harsher prison sentences and things apply to you as the person that's responsible. So they looked at me as the ringleader, or John McAfee as the guy at the top that they want. Of course, I'm in the way of them getting or I'm the guy that's going to solidify them destroying McAfee.
Right.
So what do they do to a guy like me? They steamroll you. Well, when I heard the FBI was after John McAfee, I still had a lot of money. I went ahead and just decided not to respond to the FBI if they were to look for me and go on the run. And so I bounced out of the country. Some people are like, well, why did you do that? Man, I'll tell you, if you were in my shoes, if you were in my shoe, my girl says, you know, she's like, try being in my shoe. She's from Russia. You know, I'm like, no, I think it's plural, but whatever. And she's, you know, when you're in my shoes at the time and you've already dealt with the FBI in a very negative way with the Blackwater stuff, I just felt like, dude, I'm done. I am tired, man. And so I bounced out of the country and lived a pretty dang crazy, some would say adventurous, awesome life. But if you were me in it, it's like a dark storm is around you.
Yeah.
That you can't shake off, that you're always running. You're paranoid.
Where'd you go to?
The first place I went to was Mexico. And then from Mexico, I went to Colombia, literally pointing on a map in the Colombia region and saying, okay, Medellin is where I'm going to go. Because I didn't know anything about it. Lived in Medellin, oil painting, doing some mercenary work out of there through some contacts that I knew from the teams, and ended up meeting them in Nicaragua, in San Salvador, and did work in and out of there, did some work other places, trying to pick up extra cash. Because although I had that extra crypto, I needed more funds coming in, you know?
Yeah, right.
And then I went to Spain. I got my level certification 4 in selling. I was going to, part of my genius plan of escaping the FBI for my whole life was to learn how to sell on like a 42-foot Beneteau and then sell around and stay at sea for the most of the time. Well, that lasted about 4 or 5 days. and I was like, you know what? I'd rather be in prison than be out alone, like the castaway guy, you know, talking to a volleyball, you know? So I came in all sunburned with the raccoon eyes. And I go, I got to do something else. Let's get on Tinder, you know? So I got on Tinder.
Okay.
Met my Russian chick that we've been together for 7 years. She stuck with me through hell. She had just been in Ibiza. Meet her. We're always going to tell people we met in a village or something very, you know, romantic. But let's just Tinder, dude. Come on, forget it. And so I'm running out of money. Start living in Thailand, doing Muay Thai, trying to kill the time, trying to thwart off those real negative thoughts of getting caught. And am I going to get caught in customs? I'm getting pulled over in customs all the time. Is it because I'm the only gringo in Colombia, or is it because of other things? So eventually I come back home, Brent, and I see my mom. I'm going to see her one last time. So I say, let's go get coffee, Mom. And I go get coffee with my mom, middle of downtown Dallas, Texas. I've got my visa. I've got my 2 phones. Like, you know, I should have learned from McAfee. None of that matters with the FBI. I have my 2 phones. I'm getting my Bali visa, non-extraditionary country. You know, I'm Googling it. Like, you know, you know, it's going to come to an end. All my money's in that I filtered was in USA checking. So, you know, it wasn't like I was trying to hide that big. Go to coffee with my mom. I say goodbye to my mom. I think it's going to be forever. She says, I'd rather have a son on the run than in prison that I get to visit just once a week or whatever. I don't want to see in prison. So go, Jimmy, go. Yeah. And so we get done drinking our coffee, and my mom was the best in the world. And I was going back to the car, her car, and that's when the Dallas SWAT team, while I was doing coffee, had cordoned off the whole area, blocked off the whole area. Yeah. And then when I was walking to my car, the FBI just rolled up like gangbusters. About 15 FBI. There's a lot of plainclothes, bearded guys out of nowhere, and got me on the ground. Of course, I was non-combative. I wasn't even armed. I didn't care, man. I was leaving in a couple of days. And so, but that's pretty much the best thing that ever happened to me. Probably right there was getting arrested. Because
isn't that crazy?
Isn't that crazy?
And I say it all the time. It's not how bad. It's not that bad things happen to you. It's always of how you respond to them.
Right.
Because, you know, like every man, they're the bad things in my life. I didn't know it at the time, but because I responded to them appropriately, put me on a trajectory for something that I would have never had a chance without that.
Brother. Yeah, exactly what you said. I'm sitting in a federal prison in Fort Worth Medical. That's where the Tiger King is. And I was watching him. I was always binge watching him while I was on the run. So it was weird to share the same pod as him.
Did you see him in the pod?
I never saw him, but he was there. Okay. All right, he was there. That's my story. He was there, but he was there, and
he would have loved you.
Oh yeah, he would have really loved me. I ain't like that, man. That's not why I was watching him. What? Come on, man. But man, I'm telling you, Brent, and this is the story of the greatest comeback story for my life, and the hope that I give is even though I do not believe in divorce. I don't believe in cheating the system. I don't believe in money, all this. I don't believe in any of that. But it happened in my life, and it was devastating at the time. I thought, man, it was over. The lost ship of the night. Out of all that came the life that I have now. the most beautiful life that I could ever imagine. I have a 2-year-old son that if all of that didn't happen, I would give the world for this kid.
Yeah.
And I look at him every day in his eyes and he's mine. And I'm like going, dude, I wouldn't have him unless I went through this hell. A story of complete redemption in my life. And my wife and my whole life is renewed, man.
I love it.
You know what I mean?
I love it.
And it ain't perfect by any means.
Right.
You know what I mean? I don't want to fluff anybody up right now. Are you crazy? I'm married a Russian, but whatever. Anyways, you know what I mean.
I do. So let's move ahead to current times and what you do. And there's I'm going to assume there's a several year gap between then and kind of what you do now. And how'd you get? And let's just talk about what you do now for a second. And I don't know if you like the term or not, but it is what it is. You're a social media influencer.
Yeah, I know when somebody.
I mean, you can't. Yeah,
you can't. There's no going
I
around
almost
it.
hate to tell you that, but that is what you are. I mean,
That loves
had
the Tiger King for weird reasons. No, I'm kidding.
You had almost 1 million followers on TikTok before they pulled that rug from underneath you.
Yeah, I lost a total of 1 million, pretty much with Facebook,
and then Facebook,
a million followers last year.
So I had to preface this question for with what you do now. How do you get from there? Because I'm sure, again, like me, if you'd have told me 2-3 years ago, hey, you're going to be a podcaster, I'd been like,
no, I'm not. Yeah.
No, I'm not. You don't know me. I would never do that.
Never.
Here I am. So someone tells me 3 years ago, someone's going, you're going to be a social media influencer. And you'd say, you might even say, what is that?
Right. We weren't allowed to have any social media. You're not allowed to have that in the teams where I was. And then when I was on the run, or slightly after that, or no, before that, sorry, I did open up a TikTok account. I didn't know anything about this stuff. I had 6 followers. Two were me. One was my girl and my mom and 2 other idiots, And so I had that, but I wasn't being myself,
right?
And so it was going nowhere. I literally had very, very, very few. You can't even get that low on TikTok. At least you have like 20 followers on TikTok.
Yeah.
But then after I had a spiritual awakening on house arrest, where God literally met me, Jesus literally met me, and my life was forever changed. My case is dismissed. Something that I was told during that time that I wasn't told in a loud verbal voice, but I've never heard something more clear, a clear message. And it said, you will be a lighthouse to my people. So that has been my driving force. And so I knew how do you be a lighthouse in God's people in this day and age? Through social media. And how am I going to do that? By being me no matter what. The good, the bad, the ugly. I'm going to expose it all so that I can sleep at night knowing that I'm not a hypocrite. And if I am a hypocrite, then I can adjust and flex off of that and correct myself as I go to try not to be a hypocrite to the people. And so that's what I'm doing now as an influencer. That's what I do. That's my job. I wake up every day and I look at my social media just like a job where you're working your ass off, to post these reels and to do my brand endorsements.
Yeah, and there's everyone, and I love it that I ask you, like, how much content do you put out? And you're like 2 or 3 reels a day.
Yeah, probably 3 reels a day. Yeah,
and I love that because of sorts you've taken that SEAL hard work, push through this mentality over here, and that is what makes SEALs successful as a whole, and that culture,
right,
is it will translate to business, to whatever
exactly.
you want to do in life.
Right. It's been a journey, 3 years of doing it, a lot of hard lessons learned, a lot of unfollows, a lot of follows, right. permanent deletions of counts, getting yourself back together, but always with that lighthouse to his people, but being unique. That's why preachers don't work a lot of times. They have this canned message and they point the finger, but when you point the finger at yourself and say, look, this is what I learned, man. You don't have to do it, but you're probably going to go down the same road as me, and people might listen, right? And So, but it's been a journey. But yeah, I look at it. I freaking work hard at it. It may look loose on the screen, but there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
There's some strategy, and
Right.
and
Nothing happens by accident.
yeah,
Yeah. So, and I love if any of your followers, new followers are watching this. I think it to some degree, to some of them, it almost may be a little bit like jolting of sorts, because what you do in 30 or 45 seconds, I mean, it's entertaining, and it has to be. To do what you do on social media, you have to grab their attention. You got to grab them quick, or else they'll just scroll and never look at you again. So you have this personality, almost, and you're very energetic, and you grab attention. And then they see you sit here and talk, sit down and talk and tell about your life story, and it's very
different.
And it's different, right? Because for what you're trying to accomplish in those 30 or 45 seconds, if you were to act like that for an hour straight, it'd be ridiculous. No one wants that much energy.
People would be like, "Guys,
for that long.
dang, put this guy in a mental hospital."
But the reverse is also true. If you sat here just like we've been talking and you tried to explain something, they just scroll right by and never look at it.
Right.
And that's just the fact of the business.
Well, and I look at things through how I would want to see it, and I look at, okay, how can I say something that somebody's going to take and remember? 90210 site piece, all these made up words, all this, touch point, all this stuff. Not that I came up with touch point, of course, but touch point, all these different words. And it's catchy. You can remember it. And also it may save your life. I've actually had quite a few messages, not per se that saved my life when it comes to tactics and stuff, but say, dude, I am so aware now. The other day, a guy came in the store. I did exactly what you said in this one video, and it worked out. They didn't wrestle him or anything, but it's awareness. You got that side of the house, and then you got just the funny, man. Right. I had a guy once told me, probably the most profound thing someone's told me is he laid out a bunch of plastic bags on his bed. His wife and his two girls left to go shopping. He got the shotgun. He laid out the plastic stuff on the bed. He wrote the note. He said he took his iPhone, he threw it across the room, and it opened on me yelling and screaming in the thing, something funny. Yeah. I don't know what it was, he said, but he heard it and he laughed, and then he got up and he went over there and he looked. I don't know how that's possible, but he said that right there, it wasn't about God. It wasn't about anything. So it was just funny about the military. And he related to it. He put it down. He's living a great life now. I'm not saying that's the case all the time. And I'm sure it took a lot more intervention after that. But I am saying there is an element to being you that people are going to magnetize to, if that's a word, in that lighthouse.
Yeah. I mean, our social media is much smaller than yours, but I'm sure you go look at the analytics of it.
Oh man, you got a great YouTube going on.
Even ours will reach, each particular channel can reach 1 million people per month, which means yours is reaching millions and millions of
74 million last month.
74 million.
74 million.
So the chance of having a crazy story like that, even as crazy as that story is, well, that's a 1 in 74 million. Well, that's not that unbelievable.
It's not that unbelievable, right?
That's crazy. Do you ever think about? Do you ever look at that and you look at those numbers and go, why would 74 million people care about anything I say?
I don't. I don't because believe it or not, I don't watch my stuff. I don't like hearing my own voice. I don't like looking at my own stuff. A lot of times I look at it going, God, man, and I'm not being inauthentic when I do on the reels.
Right.
I was talking to somebody a while back. It's like, but you got to remember, you're talking to yourself. Your screen's facing you. For me, it is.
Right.
I'm talking to myself. It's not easy being. So who really are you? Well, I might as well be charismatic, funny, fun, and just a character, but it's a true character.
Yeah. I only say that because I'm actually being just a little bit introspective here. Like, when I was like, why would 74 million people want to listen to me?
Yeah, it's crazy.
it's because sometimes when I look at other podcasters, I'm just and of course there's a reason they're bigger than me because they're better than me. Then they just are. That's not like oh, woe is me. Andy Stumpf. Andy Stumpf has a vocabulary that I will never have, and he has
I love
a way he presents it and a professionalism, that I don't. And so, like, I get that,
it's different.
That self-awareness of sorts where sometimes you're like, I don't know why people want to listen to me.
Well, I think that you have an incredibly successful podcast. You started and maintained and had a freaking phenomenal one, a couple now. And one thing that attracts me to your podcast in your channel, I was watching all night in your house, actually. I know that sounds weird. I stayed with Brent. Anyways, it doesn't matter. But I watched them all night and all day on the airplane because, and the one thing that I like is it goes back to just a huge respect for what you've done. And so when you have that background, it's like, well, I want to listen to Brent because, I mean, let's face it, like CAG is way cooler than the SEAL teams. You can slice and dice however you want, but for me, it's cooler in my eyes, just because of the elite, the funding, the eliteness, the what goes into it, and so I think that's what pulls people in to go. Where like I did that live on the Anti-Hero, and everybody's like, "Where's Brent?" And I'm like, "Get me out of here! This is embarrassing." So because I was sitting in your seat.
Yeah.
So I think people really respect you, brother, and respect what you're doing. And I don't know, man. I can't imagine suing you. Like what the hell?
Well, I'm not. Don't worry. You wouldn't be the first SEAL, but I'm not worried about you suing
You wouldn't
me.
be the first SEAL, dude.
But I'll tell you this. If you don't like watching yourself, you're gonna hate this because we pulled up some clips.
Oh man! Please don't do this to me.
That I want to watch, and
oh god,
a couple of them are entertaining, and one was the combat footage that we referred to. So in fact,
yeah, let's look.
Let's do that combat footage first, Drew.
The Apache just happened to be right there. Wow. Believe it or not, just look. And that Apache smokes all of them. One of those crazies. But they're right there. The insurgents are running up on us on the scene right now. By quick reaction, 1423.
Man, they lose anyone in the helicopter?
No.
Man, without a tail, the guy puts it down.
But it rolled, and my buddy was the side gunner, the door gunner, and he just tucked in his arms, and everybody lived. But just a couple weeks before that, we lost, I think, 6 Blackwater, several pilots, the Little Bird pilots.
Really?
160 of the guys that came over, 6,000 a day.
Really?
Yep.
Wow. My gosh, those barrels were hot.
Those
barrels were hot.
And we were talking about, like, you talk about fog of war and stuff. That 20 mic that was going off with that guy that just happened to be there around the area, and he rolled up. Okay. Just a kid behind that gun. I remember my friend saying, fire right there, and he pointed, and the guy just leveled one of those buildings over there, just leveled, and it happened to be like. It wasn't a school, but it wasn't enemy in there. And he just leveled that building, and it just kind of fell to pieces. And he goes, "No, shift fire to the left." And then he goes, "Oh, okay," shifted, and it started blazing those guys. But that's why I don't like when people judge combat, people in action there, because there's just shit going on you can't even comprehend, right?
Absolutely. And we'll talk more about this in the live, which the live would already happen by the time this airs. But people will sit there and judge what someone should have done in war that doesn't have the spine or audacity or the heart to go to war themselves. But you'll judge them and their hardest day just trying to fight for their lives and trying to do the best. Doesn't mean you always get to make the best decision, but I always judge you by your intent. And the intent was never to hit the wrong building. Now that's evil. That's not the American military.
That would be pure evil.
Mistakes happen. And it's the same thing with our law enforcement. And it's the same thing with ICE. You can judge these guys all you want, but they're still humans, and they're still most of the time reactionary off other evil people, and they're getting lambasted by the same people who don't have the guts to do a job like that. Then if you won't go do that job, shut up.
And that goes to what I was telling you before this. Like, people are bagging on ICE. They're saying, F ICE, they're murderers, there's this. Well, I was telling you, in the SEAL teams, if I dared ever open my mouth, which you can, even as a brand new guy in the SEALs, you can literally say, that's a bad idea on a mission. And everybody will literally turn to you and say, Roger that, come up here with your piece of chalk and write it out for us. What are we doing then?
That's right.
And you better have a fucking good answer, because if you don't, you never do that in the teams. And so when people bag on ICE, I want to know the solution. It's okay to do that. Freedom of speech, freedom of press. Then let's hear a better solution. Do I agree with ICE on a lot of their tactics and stuff? Of course not. But for the most part, if we don't have that, then the answer is.
So what's your solution?
What's the solution?
It's easy to say no. No is easy. Yeah. That's a bad idea. Awesome. Then what's a good idea? Well, that's hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it like that in CAG?
You just shut up as a new guy.
Yeah.
Shut up.
Yeah, but that's why the SEALs do too. They don't say much.
It's a little team dependent. There were some teams where because a team leader really sets the culture of that, and there definitely were teams that if you were a new guy and you had a suggestion in the most humblest of ways, you could make a suggestion.
Yeah, of course,
but you better have the social awareness to say, hey, like this is good information. It rarely happened, but it could. It could.
The teams did encourage that for some reason. They would encourage, like, hey, if you got a better idea, let us know.
Right. Yeah.
And but man, if you did, but some ideas were really stupid. They're like, shut up, dude, immediately before you get blasted.
I just wanted to watch that. I want to start out with that, the military, because I wanted to see it. I didn't see it yet, and you referenced that. Drew, let's go back and see another video that we picked out of
Big shout out to Tommy Vargas for providing that video meant to be recently. He dug that out of the grave. Really? Yeah, Tommy Vargas, yeah.
Helmet, had a helmet cam on or something? What do you
we really discourage those. If I would have known about that at the time, I would have been so. I was pissed. I was actually really pissed about this because we hated cams,
right? And now years later, now you're glad you had that camera.
Big shout out to that guy. Times change. You're okay now, man.
Yeah.
No. Tommy Vargas. I don't know if he was filming it, but he got it from another guy. But yeah, Tommy Vargas was a badass. Yeah. This is an illegal immigrant that was allowed into England, and now he's stabbing children at a playground.
No.
Yes.
This right here is coming to America as a direct result of the Biden regime. England and Europe didn't have the balls to do a mass deportation of illegal immigrants. And now this is the result. But America, for now, has the balls to do it. I know that this is quite possibly the most divisive subject in the last 50 years in American history. It is a nonsensical argument to deny the fact that if we do not deport these people, that this will happen. In the teams, if you said that you had a problem with a certain situation, that you didn't agree with that, you were automatically required right then and there to provide a solution. To be against ICE is to actually be for what you saw in this horrific video. Basically, if you're against ICE, then you have to have a better solution moving forward, or this right here, the guy with the knife in the playground, is our near future. From an expert tactical perspective, I absolutely do not agree with a lot of what I see ICE agents doing. But to be against ICE and what they're doing is to say that I am for this guy running around a playground with a knife. My solution would be to put a temporary halt immediately on all ICE operations and do an entire revamp from the head down of training. Sometimes the sled dogs get out of control and you have to wrangle them in like we would in the SEAL teams. If drastic measures are not taken, we are in for a civil war. It is completely unacceptable for American citizens to be targeted. It is also completely unacceptable to get in the way of law enforcement taking away PDFers and guys like you saw in this video with a freaking knife in a playground. Touch point.
So true.
By expert tactical, I meant Brent is the expert. not myself, of course.
It's true, and really, for you to put these 3 videos out a day, where do you get your content from? I know that seems like a simple question, but if someone was to start this, that's half of the problem. Where are you going to find 3 things a day that you think are worth talking about and put out there? How do you find them?
Well, there's an awesome book that's made a lot of millionaires. It was shared with me. It's literally called The Art of Stealing. Okay, I know from my background, maybe that's not a good thing to say, but The Art of Stealing is basically nothing is original, right?
Right.
And so even workout programs, you just mix and match push-ups, and now you have a whole new program. But who made up the push-ups should get credit. So in a way, it's plagiarized, but in another way, you take other. You gotta be inspired by that. Something that inspires me is action, war, combat tactics. Of course, I wasn't a police officer, but the fundamentals of combat pistol and certain tactics don't change, like the use of deadly force most often. Yeah. But policies, I don't know shit about. Okay, but so that you take something you love or motivation and inspiration, and then I either see the reels myself just scrolling. But or it's given to me. Most of the things I'll have to do a big shout out to all the mighty warriors on my channel for sending me the videos. It wasn't like that at first, bro.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. And that is so true,
bro.
Which is great, which is awesome for that. People will do that. They'll send you videos and be like,
right,
hey, check out this video. Hey, do a reaction to this
video.
If
it wasn't for them, because at first it was real hard going. How do you find these videos? There's not enough time in the day. You have to spend hours. And I used to spend a long time finding reels, but after a while, people caught on to
love that.
And sometimes I have guys that know what I like and what I don't like. Just because it's like killing or something crazy doesn't mean I'll talk about it. But more often than not, I have several guys, especially, that send me reels, like multiple reels, and I'll be like, "Dang, this is a good one." And it needs to be kind of relevant. A lot of times people will be like, "Oh, that's an old video." Well, so is history. How else are you going to learn? Damn it,
Right.
It's called history.
Dude, let's go to. I think we have one more video, don't we? I think we do. Let me know. We just grab those 2.
Oh, I think the Christy Gnome. Yeah,
that's right. We did the Christy Gnome one. Let's look at that one.
This is her shooting her dog. No, I'm just kidding. Too soon. Okay.
We're going to go out and pick up somebody who I think is got charges of human trafficking. We earlier had an op that swept up somebody who was wanted for murder. So appreciate the good work that they do every day, and we appreciate them working to make America safe.
You have every right to carry a gun unless you don't know how to carry that gun. So put down the weapon, Christy, before you get somebody killed. And Alter. Big shout out to Last Gorilla for bringing this atrocity to my on my cruise.
A lot of my stuff is satire, and people don't get me, so it's hard to get me. I get it. You either get me or you hate me.
Yeah. That one cracks me up. because I remember seeing the picture of that and being like, oh, that's not good.
It's cringe.
That is not good. And I hate. I almost feel like the guys like around her almost set her up for that. You know
disaster.
What I mean? Like that's you. Oh, because she's doing a good job. I don't have any personal problem
and
with
that's
her.
the sad thing. It's like I'm not trying to capitalize. I like Christy. You know me. It's not like I don't like her, but it's just funny, you know.
Oh yeah,
flagging your buddy.
I have no problem with you. Hey, you carry a gun like that, you're getting it.
Yeah,
you know, it's just true. And you're right. Everyone has the right to carry a gun, unless you don't know how to carry a gun.
Unless you're about to blow your buddy's head off with it. You know, and of course she's not going to shoot it, but dang, you know, it's just, you know, and that's how I come out. But a lot of content, it's like I miss a lot of golden opportunities because I'll go past it. I'll be like, I can't use that, but it'll be real funny if I just thought a little harder. I think a lot of people just don't think, like, it's all about just thinking about it a little bit before. And then,
thinking about it in a slightly different way.
Yes.
Okay.
I tried. Another thing that people can't stand is real flaky dudes. Like they don't want somebody that's like, "What do you guys think about this?" I don't know. No, they want you to be. They want you to be like, "This is what I think. You're either with me or you're not." And it may be a terrible decision, but at least you were on one side. But that's not always good.
I know exactly what you're talking about. I just feel like it's a little bit of a cop out. The people get on there and be like, "Tell me what you think about this."
Right.
Well, but I'm watching you. Like, why don't you then send me to a subject matter expert that knows more about it. What, we're just going to argue it out in the comment section?
Right. And there's guys that come in my DMs. Sometimes they'll be like, Jimmy, I don't always agree with you, but I like you enough to follow you. And I always go, dude, I'm glad you said that, because if you always agreed with me, there's something wrong with you. Yeah. Like, I mean, come on. There's no way we can agree 100% of the time.
Groupthink is very dangerous.
Oh yeah.
Very dangerous. And that's not, I've said this before. Diversity is not skin color. I could be black, you could be yellow, Drew could be purple. And if we all think the same, there's no diversity in this room. Diversity has never been about skin color. Diversity of thought is what gets the best answers to problems.
Right. Right. And I have to remove my emotion too. If I allow emotion or some political view to get in the way, then it's not reality. It's just kind of skewed from my own possible brainwashing, and I could be way off. So I try to like look at it through all angles and then really come up with a real, like, and there's been reels that I just don't do because I just don't know. Or I'll say something about a certain group of people that a lot of people are talking about, like, you know, and then I'll go, Jimmy, what if you're wrong? And I'll go, you know what? I'm going to go back and delete that video. I have no problem deleting videos, or taking a hard look at my own self. And because, dude, you know, a lot of times we look back at a picture and we're wearing a pair of shoes or clothes and we're like, what were we wearing? What the hell? You know what I mean?
It's the whole 80s.
Yeah.
What's next for you? You're just gonna double down on this, grow this thing, turn it. You know, what do you want to do?
You know, I'm not real concerned about growth anymore. I used to be real concerned about follows, and then I realized I lose 2,000 followers a month and I gain about 30,000. You're never going to win.
Crazy numbers.
And you can't please everybody, bro. And so what I'm doing now is, I've just launched my peptide company, which is doing phenomenal.
Love to hear it.
Dude, it is Mighty Warrior Peptides. And I'll tell you, because what it is I saw a very confusing thing called peptides a couple years ago. I tried it myself. I mixed and matched. I didn't know what I was doing. All these weird Sloop, PP26, GHK, BPC 157. And it's so confusing. And what I decided to do was put my own spin on it and make it palatable and make it not confusing. Use my experts, put peptides into realistic actual combinations. They've scientifically proven this is the best way to do it. Not doing it in onesies and twosies. Okay. Put them in 3s and 4s, actual stacks, and naming them like what they do: jacked and stacked, sliced and diced. You know, the superhuman stack. And what you have in there is these badass, pure as it gets, peptides. They're for human research, so you don't need a prescription for them.
Right.
You got to go on your own research. But I've made that research so easy that all you have to do is click on a stack and it comes to your house. And so it's providing a real solution, and we've done phenomenal for being in it for 30 days, and we're dropping new stacks. And I'll tell you, if first go to Brent, the best TRT around. Foundationally, I believe that's the truth, the TRT. Then you add peptides on top of that.
Yeah.
And you got the icing on the cake, man.
The old 1-2 punch.
Yeah.
If you will.
It really is.
Maybe we'll get together. Maybe you can do some TRT through us on your side. We'll figure that out.
I've got a lot of guys that ask, man.
Hey, wait, where can people find you? Where can they find your peptides?
A Mighty Warrior. Please get a pencil out, write this down. MightyWarriorPeptides.com, and then Mighty Warrior 283 is my Instagram handle name. And just DM me. I promise I'll respond. It's not AI. Yeah, I actually spend most of my day responding to guys. I do a voice recording to you. I'll help you out with my peptides. I'll get you all set up. I also want to do a big shout out to Black Scout Survival. That's the shirt I'm wearing.
For sure.
I represent their tactical gear, their knives and everything. And a big shout out to Black Scout Survival, man. He's been real good to me.
The 283, where's 283 come from? Is there a meaning behind 283?
I started with class 282 in buds, and I ended with 283.
Okay.
And so special number to me, I guess. It's not like crazy, but that's why I put it on my Mighty Warrior. And Mighty Warrior is I'm calling all people, man, a Mighty Warrior. And if they could only understand that they have that in them, man, nothing is impossible.
I believe that. I do. I got two final questions for you. One, where does Touchpoint come from? I love that you use it. In fact, when Drew walked in and goes, Touchpoint. Tell us about the genesis of that.
Dude, I have had moving companies go past me in Miami and people yell out, Touchpoint. And I'm like, what's up, homie?
I love it.
And Touchpoint, originated from where I know it from was the SEAL teams. They were always like, know your touch point, know your touch point. It's where your first two fingers, your index finger, go to every single time.
Yeah.
And then as soon as you touch that point, you know where to seat your hand.
Right.
And then you come straight up and out and punch out and roll the trigger. That's your touch point. And your touch point, maybe in life, your touch point is the word of God, the Bible. When things are really hard, you go to the word. You go to certain things, but you got to know that touch point. It's got to be so systematic and automatic that it's a no fail. You go to it every single time, whether you're carrying at the 3, carrying at the appendix, whatever it is.
Love it.
Yeah,
love it. Last question. Tell us a funny story.
Oh man, got my penis caught in a belt sander. That's my go-to.
I forgot that story. Remind us about the penis in the belt sander.
Dude, there's not a day that I have lived in this life since that tragic incident that I'm not reminded by someone. I'll put out the most like empathetic. I'll put out a great reel. Yeah. And somebody will be like, yeah, that's cool, but you got your penis caught in a belt sander. And I'll be like, you mother piece of...
I love it, man. The good followers and audience, they don't forget. They latch on to small things, and they're funny.
Dude, they don't ever forget that, bro.
And they'll remind me of things too, and I think it's hilarious.
No, sometimes I'll have people go, bro, I thought you were joking about that, but I honestly think now that I've heard you say it about 20,000 times over the last 3 years that you're serious.
That's real.
I'm like, bro, the Navy paid me because I got my penis caught in a belt sander.
All right.
Skin graft, everything.
The story.
Okay. Well, Matt Leathers, unfortunately, at the time, he was kind of like the next David Goggins. He would drink a bottle of vodka every night, ran a marathon every night. A marathon. He slept on the team room couch, the nasty rat-infested couch. Just a hard-ass guy. Had a big Copenhagen dip in all the time. That was our sister platoon at SDV. He had done several national taskings by then, been there 6 years, which was a lifetime in SEAL delivery vehicle. So he was like a god to us as a senior guy. They go out on a regular training mission that day in the SDV. He disappears for life, forever. He disappears. They don't know if he dropped off the shelf in Hawaii there. The last thing he was heard saying was, damn, my weight belt's heavy. I think that's what I recall them saying. He said, no, not trying to paraphrase that. And my weight belt's heavy. They looked for him. They extended the search out for days. They had both SDVs out there, the National Guard. They said if anybody could survive 2-3 times longer than the normal human being, it's Matt Leathers. Never found him. Found his weight belt, I think, on the ground, on the shelf. Maybe a massive shark came and grabbed him. There was a lot of different theories. During this time, what I would do, if there wasn't a coffin, because we did lose several guys, if there wasn't a coffin to pin our trident in, like you see, if there's not a body, there's no coffin. So what I would do is I would paint their picture, they're like a lifelike picture realism, onto this piece of wood, this big piece of wood. I would coat it with the lacquer, and then we would put the tridents in that. And it was really heavy, nice. There's a couple at the SEAL Command SDV right now hanging there for a couple guys. While he was lost, I was making one of these for him. I'm in my Silkies. I can't remember if I was in my, somebody corrected me. You were in your UDTs, damn it. People remember everything. Yeah. If you say one thing off, they're going to get you, you know? And so I'm out there belt sanding out my lawn with an extension cord, and it's at waist level, and I'm going back and forth. It was the 8 grit, like rock, like paper, you know. And I think if it was not the rock, big rocks, it would have cut it all. It would slid off, like it would take it and ripped it off into Tookie's mouth over there, my dog. And so I'm there, I'm doing the belt sending like this back and forth, and all of a sudden it's like I got distracted. I like looked up at the clock or something, looked down, and it went through like Laffy Taffy, bro. Like a freaking mouse went through a door crack. And the guys are like, how'd you get your dick on the belt sander? I'm like, shut up before I blast you in the face, homie. And you know what I'm saying, dog? And so in that space, have you ever loaded paper in a belt sander?
Not the belt sander. Always like the vibrating like orbital sanders.
Dude, I wish I would have known about the vibrating one, dude. No, I had an industrial one. I
know what you're talking about. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
The crazy thing is, I'm standing out there without a shirt on with my little shorts on. Yeah. My junk is all the way through and out the side, and it ain't that big, homie. You know, it's stretched out like this long. Can you see that? And it's hanging on the ground. And the craziest thing, I think the craziest thing about the story, other than the 2 brothers that wanted to see it, and they were both brothers at different times. Okay. Weird. The neighbors were unloading their groceries with their little kids. And the only thing that I could think of, I should get a freaking Valor Award for this with a V, is I thought I will not allow these children to see my penis caught in a belt sander. Okay. I am going down with this shit. Okay. They will not be traumatized, and they will never have to go to a psychologist and talk about this for the rest of their life. And so while they're moving the groceries in, I'm standing there with it in. And the machine is smoking. It's like burnt, like burning me like a pancake. And so they're loading the car. They never saw it. I waddled back to the garage like this. And I shut the garage on myself. I said, if I'm going to bleed out and die, I'm going to do it like a man with my penis caught in belt sanders. And I shut the door. I hold it like this because it's wet. It's heavy, bro. And I shut the garage door with one hand. And then I go into total like breathing mode, like, okay, I've got to problem solve this situation. Right. Honey Boo Boo's in the house making cupcakes. Tookie, my dog that I waterboarded a couple times, he's over there in the corner looking at me like, this is what you get for doing that to me. And I'm like, I'm sorry. And so the only thing that I can think of is I have to unplug the electricity or it's going to go off again. Right. So I'm keeping my finger straight off the trigger like never before. I'm like this. Like, do not touch the trigger, because if I touch the trigger, it's going off for sure. Yeah. And so I traced the extension cord back all the way back. The extension cord's like all the way across the room. And I keep tracing it, and I get to the unplug, and I realized that it was my penis in my hands. It wasn't the, okay, never mind, whatever. It was the extension cord. And so I traced it all the way back, and I unplugged the extension cord, and the electricity's cut off, and then I have to problem solve. And so, I always say, like the fox who eats his arm off because it's in the trap. Yeah. You always wonder how an animal can do that, right? I literally was willing to eat my own penis off just to get it out. Okay, that's extreme. Whatever. You know what I mean? So
it's flexible.
Yeah, and so flexible, dude. Come on, man. What's up with the peanut gallery over here, man? You guys are brutal, man. I flew all the way over here for this, and so I decide I'm going to take it apart with a screwdriver and just start taking it, and then it dawns on me, release the freaking latch.
Right.
And so I release the latch and it loosens it up just a little bit. And I just start pulling my penis out. Inch by inch by inch by inch by inch.
Yeah, all those inches.
Okay, all right. I pulled it out. And
it hurts my penis listening to it.
And what's crazy, man, long story short, I had to get a penile reconstructive sex change specialist to do. Who else is going to do this?
Yeah.
To put it back Humpty Bumpty back together again. Anyways, man.
What's worse is I've heard that story before.
It was
I forgot about it. And it's still,
you blacked it out. Yeah. You're like, it was so traumatizing.
I've never heard it told like that. But look, while you're telling the story, I am thinking of a great T-shirt. Like it's got to be red, and it's got to have Jimmy, doing this. And there's going to be a belt sander on a stand at waist level, and then the words on the top above Jimmy smiling, going, be careful out there.
Dude, we would sell like 3 of those. You know what I mean? Right? Like 3 of
No, we'll work on it.
But can you imagine the SEAL teams, how far and wide that story went? And
that story's still being told to this day.
Yeah, I was getting in fights with guys. It was crazy. Like crazy stuff was happening. And then real bad taste and real bad timing. We had the funeral for Matt Leathers. Well, his family comes in. I don't know they're coming. And here I have the T-shirt they made me. I was wearing it. And it had my penis and a belt sander. And it said all I got for getting my penis caught in a belt sander was this T-shirt. And I'm wearing it. And the mom is standing there. And I'm like, how you doing, ma'am? Nice to meet you. And they're just like, what is that? It was terrible, bro. Andy Stump laughed so hard. Somebody told Andy about this story, dude.
Oh, gosh.
So that's the story.
Jimmy, you didn't disappoint. All right, let's get ready for a live. Thanks for coming on, brother.
Thank you, guys. It's an honor, man. I appreciate everybody watching this.
Guys, thank you so much. If you enjoyed Jimmy, give us a like and a follow. And if you didn't catch our live, go and catch the live. It'll be even better than this.
It's going to be fun, man.
Yeah. Can't wait. Thanks, brother.
Thank you, brother.
All right.
As long as YouTube don't shut us down.
No, not today.